All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the stream. Welcome if you are new. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, as always, and waiting patiently for the intro to finish up. Hope everybody's doing well on this Tuesday. Sony's not going to stop PC ports. They want more money. I see somebody saying The Last of Us Part 2 flopped on PC. I don't know if it flopped, but it definitely didn't do great. Will I be playing RoboCop? I hope to at some point. Yeah. I hope to play RoboCop at some point. Playing Alan Wake 2. Scary. Alan Wake 2 is a great game. Yeah. I enjoyed Alan Wake 2. I don't know that I considered it that scary. I mean, it was the parts where you actually play as Alan Wake, I would say, are, somewhat frightening. They can get a bit scary. But yeah, really good game. The trophies glitched out on you. Oh, that's annoying. I hate that, dude. I don't think there's anything worse than when you're on your way to a platinum and you encounter some kind of glitch trophy of some kind. What does that mean for Days Gone Remastered on PC? I think all they're adding to Days Gone Remastered for PC is Broken Road DLC. So, yeah, it's a little awkward. You don't care about trophies? You think you're lucky because of that? Yeah, I see where you're coming from. It would be nice to not care about trophies, but that happened to you when playing Guardians of the Galaxy? Damn. I remember that game. That was a good game, Guardians of the Galaxy. But guys, today we're talking about the fact that there are too many games releasing in the coming weeks. In the next couple of months, we have an overwhelming amount of video games launching. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of freaking out a little bit because I'm like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to play these games? How am I going to platinum these games? I think for a lot of people, it's also how are you going to afford all these games? But it's a good problem to have. Which games? We're going to talk about that. You're no longer purchasing games at the moment, Chris. We're going to be talking a little bit more about Marathon. I want to have the discussion regarding this game about it potentially being big. Just a big game in general, big for PlayStation. And I've already seen people trying desperately to convince themselves that Marathon is another Concord, and that's insane to me. I don't think I've seen people more disconnected from reality than when it comes to people who are trying to compare Marathon to Concord. Kind of crazy, but we'll also talk more about the Switch too. It seems that Nintendo's pulling a Don Matrick, guys. No joke. Nintendo is pulling a Don Matrick and straight up telling you, hey, if you can't afford the Switch 2, we got a console for you. It's called the Switch 1. I'm not even kidding. Nintendo really is out here just not giving an F, bro. PlayStation must be down bad if they're sending content creators like Colt Marathon packages while PlayStation creators like you get nothing but Xbox invites. You're telling me they sent Colt Eastwood a Marathon package? That's funny, bro. Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if there's ties with Bungie there. I haven't gotten sent anything. What are they sending content creators? Probably like care packages or something. Michael Lynch, a member for 20 months, says Microsoft is getting crazy out here in the streets. Super chat incoming. Uh-oh. Did Phil send you a Forza code yet? No, I'm curious to see if I hear from Microsoft. That'd be cool. I mean, I would gladly cover some of these games coming out. Luke Stevens said he played it but can't talk about it. I've been seeing people talk about playing it, and I've been hearing good things. I think there was an Escape from Tarkov streamer who said he's been playing it for the last 6 years, and he's saying it's really good. So I'm like, okay, that's definitely promising. I'm blacklisted. I don't know if I'm blacklisted. I don't think I've never like really had a line of communication with Sony. So, I mean, I could be blacklisted. If I was, I wouldn't know. But yeah, I've never had a line of communication with Sony. We'll see if I can establish one. Maybe I'll try. I'm trying to figure out if there's Days Gone review codes going out. Like, I don't know how Sony's going to handle that. Like, I don't know if this is going to be a situation where they're going to review Days Gone again, or no, they're just going to release it and there's not going to be review scores. You're saying contact them. It's not that easy, dude. At least with Sony. I mean, in the past, I tried to contact Sony and I couldn't figure out how. I'm like, dude, I don't know who am I supposed to talk to here? Like, who, you know what I mean? Like, they don't, unless there's something I'm missing. But to be fair, anytime I've done anything with publishers of any kind, they've usually reached out to me. But yeah, maybe I should start getting a little bit more proactive with it. I don't think it would hurt. You have 100,000 subscribers. Third party publishers don't even reach out. No, they do. I've had third party publishers reach out quite a few times. I think I've just been really bad at like communicating. You know, a lot of times I just kind of, okay, I'm not really interested. But it's because I'm not sure. Like, again, I used to review games, but it would be very specific games, and I would just do it at my own cadence. I would do it at my own cadence, but no, I haven't had like a major publisher like Sony reach out to me or anything like that. Ubisoft, I don't remember when it comes to Ubisoft. I feel like years ago I may have been contacted by Ubisoft and I was just not interested in whatever they were. But I know Square I've had contact with as well. And I don't know. Maybe I should start pursuing these things, you know? But there's like this level of obligation that I don't want to overcommit, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to make it seem like, yeah, I'm going to become a review channel if that's not what I'm actually going to do. But at the same time, I don't think it would necessarily hurt if there's games. It's mainly about like games that I am planning on playing, right? Like, if I do get a code for like Forza or something, like, that's great because I was going to play that game either way and talk about it. And I guess give a kind of review, you know, in the way that I do it. But we'll see. Michael Lynch with a $10 super chat says, apparently South of Mid allows you to skip puzzles, boss fights, and chase scenes. That's pathetic. Xbox developers making games for beta males and wannabe gamers. Bro, I'm about to play Microsoft. Can you call me a beta male, Michael? That's a lot, though. Skipping chase scenes. This isn't uncommon, to be honest, Michael. Like, we've seen this when it comes to developers, like, basically allowing you to customize and tailor make the experience, which some people like, some people don't like. I'm mostly indifferent to it because, like, if it's an option, whatever, dude. You know, like, if somebody's telling me you have an option to turn this entire section of the game off, I mean, it doesn't hurt me, right? It's like, okay, that's fine. Yeah, and you do have to consider that some of these accessibility options are maybe for disabled people, you know, which that's something a lot of AAA developers and publishers have been pushing pretty hard. But when it comes to South of Midnight, I don't know. I've been seeing some people talk about it. It seems to be like a pretty okay game, generally speaking. Some people seem to really like it. Others are kind of mid on it. Not a game that has really caught my attention, honestly. But yeah, I mean, maybe one day it'll come to PlayStation and maybe I'll try it. But I don't know. It's not a game that's really speaking to me too much. But Michael's out here raging. He's raging against South of Mid, as he calls it. Yeah, that's a good point, Ghetto God. I don't make it easy. I didn't even think about that. No, you're right. I think I've like scrubbed my Twitter and everything else of like ways for, I don't even have my DMs open or anything. People can find my email, but it's not necessarily obvious. That's a good point, Ghetto God. I didn't really think about that. I don't make it very easy. Money, you're going to be playing it tonight to find out. MBG, I genuinely don't have the time and can't even create the time to play all these games, even if I tried. I know, it's hard, man. Okay, you're going to give it a shot. Michael, you're saying people around here really trying to compare South of Mid to Cana. Not even close. Cana Bridge of Spirits was a. You know what was shocking about that game, Michael, is like I still. Well, first off, what happened to those devs? Are they making another game? Because Cana Bridge of Spirits, I would say, is a game that in some ways does seem similar to South of Midnight, but South of Midnight also seems to be doing certain things very differently compared to Cana Bridge of Spirits from what I've seen. Cana Bridge of Spirits, the most shocking thing about that game is that was the dev's first game ever. And I'm like, that's kind of crazy. So they're clearly very talented, but I'm not sure what's going on. Like, clearly, I think they made good money. I think Cana Bridge of Spirits was a success, but I don't know if they're going to make a sequel or if they've confirmed that they're working on something else. And Cana did also eventually release on Xbox as well. But that was one of those bigger, like, indie titles that Sony was kind of flexing around the launch of the PS5. I could see why people are trying to compare it to a degree, though, Michael. Like, they do, just generally speaking, from the outside looking in, seem like they have some similar vibes. But yeah, anybody who's going to play South at Midnight, you'll have to let me know what you think of it. But Ken actually has a challenging gameplay. I mean, yeah, I know that with some of the boss battles, if you were playing in the higher difficulties, they could be pretty challenging. You think it wasn't balanced well, Angry Whale Watcher? They did make it quite challenging. South of Afternoon. South of Afternoon. More slop for welfare pass, says Mohammed. So, guys, I'm assuming many of you in the chat absolutely love Game Pass. That's true, Michael. Yeah, I remember getting hung up on a couple boss battles in Cana. The more I think about it, yeah, I do remember getting caught up in that game a bit. It was more difficult than I expected. Who actually plays these types of games, though? I think quite a few people do. I think these games have their audience. But speaking of a lot of games coming out, man, yeah, I was looking over some of the games coming out in the next like 5 to 6 to 7 weeks, even beyond that, going into like June, and it's just like, oh man, it's gonna be tough to find the time to play all these games. You just want Yote. I mean, we're gonna be hearing about Yote soon, I think. Okay, says, I mean, people can poo on it, but it is a first-party Microsoft game releasing today, which is more than we could say about PlayStation at the moment. Hey, we got Days Gone remastered, okay? How dare you? There's a few big games coming. You're saying it's dry out here, Navidzer? All right, well, let me bring it up. Hold on. So, where are we at right now? We are the 8th. So, South of Midnight came out today. For some people, I think they're going to be playing that. So, for me, well, Forever Skies comes out on the 14th. That is, I think, published by Sony. Or no, hold on. It's not published by Sony, I don't believe, but Sony locked it in as like a console exclusive. They were kind of they were marketing that recently. So Forever Skies is coming out on the 14th. Not a game I'm planning on playing though. But looking here, April 17th, 15th, if you get the premium edition, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I'm definitely planning on playing that. I've heard it's actually really good. And then Post Trauma is coming out on the 22nd. I don't know. I saw some people talking about that. Claire Obscure Expedition 33. Who's excited for this game? April 24th. I've been seeing a lot about this game, and it seems like people are quite excited for it. Classic JRPG. Radic, you're excited for it? Melon? A lot of you guys are excited for it. Nice. Yeah, it looks really good. So that's coming out April 24th. And then the next day, you have, if for the premium edition of Forza Horizon 5, that unlocks. And then also Days Gone Remastered. Both of those on the same day. So, like, right off the bat, man, like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know how I'm going to do this. Like, Days Gone, Forza, Indiana Jones. I mean, come on, dude. And then we go into May. Metal Eden comes out May 6th. The Midnight Walk comes out May 8th. That's a game that Mrs. MBG is excited about. And it is a console exclusive for PS5. Revenge of the Savage Planet. Doom the Dark Ages, May 15th. So this is another problem. You know, you're talking about Forza Horizon 5 at the end of May. I mean, dude, Indiana Jones and Doom are releasing within literally 1 month of one another. Kind of torturous. So, yeah, May 15th, we're looking at Doom the Dark Ages. On May the 16th, Capcom Fighting Collection 2. I know people are excited about that. I'm skipping over a lot of games, by the way. Like, there's way more games than I'm listing coming out. I'm just listing the ones that I've either seen people talking about or games that I'm looking forward to. Onimusha 2. And then May 30th, we are looking at... Oh, God. I hate this. On May 30th, we're looking at Elden Ring, Night Rain, and Lost Soul Aside, both releasing on the same day because, you know, they just have to release on the same day. We have many months throughout the year where there's nothing coming out, or nothing for me personally that I'm interested in playing. But, of course, two of the games I'm most interested in playing, they have to come out on literally the same day. Oh, my God. It's a good problem to have. You think Lost Soul Aside is DOA? I hope not. That game looks really good, dude. Boss, come on. We're not even remotely close, bro. Michael Lynch with the super chat says, I think Marathon is going to be something special. There's a reason they have content creators playing it early so they can tell us about it. Yeah, and we're going to have that conversation, Michael. I do think Marathon has the potential to be a very big game, not just for Sony, but for Bungie as well. I do think there's risk associated with it, of course. I think there's a chance it won't achieve the same heights as Destiny. I think there's a good chance it won't achieve those same heights, but I think generally speaking, it could be a relatively big live service game. I do. I think that it has a lot going for it. And the fact that, as you're pointing out here, Michael, they've had content creators who cover Destiny and cover, you know, extraction shooter games. They've had content creators playing this game and testing it for like 5 or 6 years. That's a really good sign. Even if it's a competent shooter, I will be enjoying it and playing it, or you will enjoy playing it. I'm very excited for Marathon. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, you know what? This could be a big game for me. This could be a big game for me personally. Michael, thank you for the super chats, buddy. So, May 30th, Elden Ring, Night Rain, and Lost Soul Aside the same day. Yay. Let's see. So going into June, the Nintendo Switch 2 version of Hogwarts Legacy. There's a lot of Nintendo Switch 2 launches. They're like front-loaded here. Mario Kart World, Fortnite, Cyberpunk 2077, Civilization 7. So yeah, the launch of the Switch 2 is going to have quite a bit. Split Fiction for Nintendo Switch 2, Street Fighter 6, Yakuza 0 Director's Cut. But then June 10th, Mind's Eye, June 10th. I'm telling you, this game, I found out, by the way, this is important. I found out Mind's Eye is a linear game. It's not open world. Kind of surprised by that, but very happy. Not sure if I mentioned this already, but Lux, you're saying since it's Switch 2 official pre-order date, was curious to see if I could get one. Everywhere I tried so far, it says sold out, denied. I told you, Lux. I told you. The internet, and I get it. It's not a matter of defending. It's just a matter of pointing out the reality that the internet's going to rage, but the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to sell out. That's just the way it's going to go, man. But Lux, I wish you luck. I hope you can get one. I'm kind of glad that I'm not. I'm glad that I don't have to worry about it, that I don't have to stress about trying to, to lock down a Switch 2 pre-order. Boss looks like he's ready to strike. Oh my God, he does. Guys, let's see if we can hit that 25 member goal. Because Boss, the longer it goes on and he doesn't get his treats, he gets more aggressive. Boss, stop it. Death Stranding 2 is going to fail? No! 9! Wrong! Death Stranding 2 is not going to fail. Death Stranding 2 is going to win Game of the Year 2025. Maybe. I don't know. But, boss, there's... Oh my God, this cat. Trust me, it's a failure. 0 point, you have no idea what you're talking about. Death Stranding 2 is not going to fail. Boss says no. It's my duty to get a Switch 2 for my channel. Maybe. Okay. But Boss, thanks for putting your butt right in front of the camera for everybody to see. That's wonderful. You see what I mean, guys? I'm getting bombarded all which way, every which way. Death Stranding 2 is going to fail. Why aren't you getting a Switch 2? Boss coming up here, putting his ass in front of the camera, like, come on, bro. Eventually, I'll probably get it. Well, it's not probably. Eventually, I'll get a Switch 2. I'm not going to get it at launch. I'm definitely. I can't. There's just not anything there for me at launch. A walking sim is in no way winning Game of the Year. Bro, it's not a walking sim. Death Stranding 2 is not a walking sim. 0 point, have you even played Death Stranding? Something tells me you haven't even played Death Stranding. Come on. But June 10th, Mind's Eye. Another game I want to play. Yeah, Mrs. MBG wants the Switch 2, but she said that she wants to wait as well until there are more games that she's interested in playing. It's a UPS game. Come on. Bad cat. No, and I'm never touching it, even if they give it for free. Then shut your mouth, 0 point. Shut your filthy mouth. Don't you dare talk about Death Stranding 2 negatively and talk about Hideo Kojima like that when you refuse to even try the game. Gavin Hillett comes in and drops a membership gift for you guys. Gavin, thank you so much for that, buddy.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, add that to the goal. Death Stranding's definitely not for everybody, but I do think Death Stranding 2 is going to do well, though. In all seriousness, I think it has I think there's going to be a couple surprises in that game that people are going to be talking about. I do. Death Stranding 1 was awesome. All right, we got, let's see here. So Mind's Eye, June 10th. And then Death Stranding 2, June 26th. Stellar Blade's coming out for PC in June as well. Then July, we got Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4. Donkey Kong Bonanza for Nintendo Switch 2. August, for me, the big one is Metal Gear Solid Delta. September, Hell is Us. Terminator 2D, No Fate. And clearly many games. Basically, everything falls off a cliff after July and August. There's like very few games with dates. Very few. They said Death Stranding will be more action. Listen, I'm going to be honest, man. If people want to like jump on the bandwagon of like Death Stranding as a walking simulator and you know, not even like give it the time of day, in my opinion, that's their loss. I'm not here to tell you Death Stranding's the best game ever. I'm not here to tell you that it's for everybody. I'm just here to say that there is something there. There is absolutely something there. And I think anybody who's played it, you know, I've come across people who played it and they couldn't really get into it, but even they identify that there's something there, you know? I just think that what's there isn't necessarily for everybody. But yeah, man. I mean, I remember when Death Stranding 1 was coming out, I was really championing that game at a time when people were kind of like, "Oh, I don't know about this." After people saw the gameplay, I'm like, "No, man, I still believe in it." Spent hours building roads and zip lines. Hours. Well, 0 Point, that's fine, dude. If there's nothing there for you, that's fine. But, you know, I think you also have to acknowledge that there are quite a few people very excited for this game. I mean, for me, that's easily one of the biggest games I'm looking forward to playing in the next 3 months. By far. Like, it could very well be, like, my favorite game of the year. We'll have to see. All I know is that last trailer that they put out, you know, really won me over. I was already won over, but it really just made me that much more excited. Whiskey, you're saying you tried DS1, but it wasn't for you? The world around it and the unique ideas, what's exciting you? $120 FPS Call of Duty on Switch 2. Bro, check this out. Hold on. Let me see if I can find just a direct quote. Hold on one sec. Okay, so Doug Bowser, when asked about the price of the Nintendo Switch 2, quote, "Some people may not be able to afford the Switch 2's price point. That's why we wanted to make the other Switch platforms available." In other words, if you can't afford a Switch 2, then luckily for you, we got a Switch 1. Xbox One 2.0. No, I see. That's the thing is, it's funny that it's bringing that he's bringing that Don Matrick energy, but this is definitely not the Xbox One situation. I have seen people try to make comparisons. The Switch 2 is going to be fine, but there's no denying that, man, that you could tell that Doug Bowser is not aware of the time that Don Matrick said that. I feel like, yeah, I don't know, man. You kind of look at the heat that Don Matrick got for saying that same thing about the Xbox 360, and he got steamrolled. You can get away with that statement nowadays. Yeah, I mean, a lot has changed. Nintendo doing what they do. Apparently, they postponed pre-orders in Canada as well, following the U.S. tariffs. Pre-orders for the Nintendo Switch 2 in Canada will not start on April 9th in order to align with the timing of pre-orders to be determined in the U.S. So, yeah, they're still holding off on that. I guess it's not surprising. Ultimately, do you guys not have phones? At least he didn't tell people to get a second job. Yeah, that's the next thing they're going to say. Japan and U.S. started trade negotiations. It seems like there's a lot of different negotiations starting. I saw that South Korea starting negotiations. Apparently, China wants to start negotiations, but doesn't know how to like approach it. What time is the marathon event on Saturday? So for me, it's going to start at 1 p.m. So it'll be like 1 p.m. Eastern. I'll probably stream it. So it'll be like a Saturday stream, which isn't usual on the channel, but kind of funny that that dude's name is actually Bowser. I know, man. Can't make this stuff up. 3 jobs with no time to play games. You're beginning to think that China wants this fight. Well, yeah, I don't know, man. It's getting intense out here. I don't know if we'll get a release date for Marathon, but I think we're going to get an alpha announcement. And we have Chris Brown with a $5 chat saying, so when Nintendo makes underpowered devices, people get upset. Nintendo makes a device on par with the industry, and they're crying about it. Get a grip, people. Well, if there's something I'll tell you, Chris, is that everybody will cry about everything on the internet. You know, if there's something that I've learned in doing this for so long is that it does not matter what's announced. It does not matter what the product is. It just doesn't matter. There's always going to be people crying about it, and it's to be expected. The idea is you just got to be able to look at that and be like, okay, well, then I guess don't buy it. But yeah, man, people cry about stuff. I see this with PlayStation all the time where people cry about stuff, and it's just like, then just don't buy it. Just let the people who want to enjoy it, and go focus on something you do want. But yeah, to be fair, Chris, the Switch 2 is still pretty underpowered, comparatively speaking. But I get the general sentiment. The general sentiment is Nintendo created a device that will be able to presumably get all the third-party games. And these third-party games should look and run well enough. And yeah, that's fair. Hold on, let me tired of this crashing, man. You have a ROG Ally and the Switch 2 is not underpowered. Gamers need to prepare themselves for a few years of instability with no clear or immediate answers. I would agree with that. I think the only thing you really can maybe honestly prepare for is just, again, like kind of the way it's been where if you want to access video games, it's going to come at a premium. It's going to come at a premium. Don't buy it is the most powerful right we as consumers have. So use that to tell companies what is acceptable or not. Exactly, Jack. Exactly. And we've been having this conversation since the Switch 2 was revealed, and it will continue, I guess, as long as the conversation needs to continue. But yeah, I've been simply saying that, like, you as the consumer, the only power you have is to decide whether or not you're going to give your money to that product and that company. And that is you sending a message. But you have to accept that that message might be ignored because that company may be paying too much attention to all the other people who are giving them their money. And you might just find that you're just left out. And I'm not saying that's good. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm actually not bringing any emotion into it. I'm just here to say that that's likely a reality that that consumers are going to have to face. And so, you have to know your limits, I guess. More specifically, you're going to have to pay to play day one. Fans seem pretty pissed at the price. That's why Nintendo's trying to blame it on the tariffs. Well, actually, no. Nintendo didn't blame it on the tariffs. They did the opposite. They're like, actually, this was the price before the tariffs. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of people like to pocket watch. And the reason why people pocket watch is because they want to have enough influence to convince people to not support products, to not send the wrong message. But at the same time, that's the nature of the open market, of the free market, right? Is like it's like I said, like for every one person that stomps their foot down and says, I'm taking a stand against Nintendo, you probably got five other people that are like, that's good for you, man. Anyway, yeah, can I get my Switch 2 pre order, please, with Mario Kart World? That's just like, so either cave or don't. But, you know, you just, I just don't want to be like that. You know what I mean? I don't want to be the type of person that's like, man, I'm so angry at people supporting this thing that they shouldn't be supporting that I want to be part of, but I just either, you know, like maybe I don't have enough money to be part of it, or I just don't want to put my money down to be part of it. It's like, all right, man, that's cool, but like don't try to ruin it for everybody else. Just let people enjoy what they want to enjoy. I've been pushing this for a long time, man. I've been pushing it for a long time. I used to be like that. I used to have that type of mentality where I used to get really aggressive and like tell people like what you should and shouldn't spend your money on. And I kind of laugh at my older self because it's like, who are you? Like that's pretty entitled. To think that I should have a say in how people should or shouldn't spend their money. Like I'm the last person. The only thing I should be worrying about is where I'm spending my money. Where everybody else is spending their money. That's their business, not mine. It's insane that Mario Kart game is $80 while Horizon. I said Forza. I almost said Forza Forbidden West, bro. What the hell? Horizon Forbidden West is $60. So you guys looking forward to that Forza Forbidden West crossover unlocked? That would be a hell of a crossover, dude. Forza Forbidden 5. Forza Zero Dawn 6. Fighting robot dinosaurs in a Ferrari. Zero Point, you're saying you're going to get a Switch 2 day one and Super Mario World game and Donkey Kong Bonanza day one. But you're aggressively against Death Stranding 2, though, right? Death Stranding 2 is just a joke of a game, right? We got 0 points in here gaslighting. He says, yup. You're damn right, son. That's funny, man. Switch 2 is going to be like $700 with these tariffs. Yeah, unknown. Switch 2 pre-orders delayed in Canada. It's still strange that you think Switch 2 won't have big third-party support when we already know it's getting FromSoft, exclusive Silksong, Borderlands 4, COD, etc. day one. No. So, okay, it's not that I don't think it's going to get big third-party support. I'm just wondering how big of a difference maker that will be. Now, look, here's something I want to point out that I think some people are forgetting. Building up to the launch of the Switch 2, I was out here saying, and for those of you who've been watching my streams for any amount of time, you know this. I've been saying over and over again that there is a chance, I don't know how good of a chance, but a decent chance that the Switch 2 is going to get such strong third-party support and run these games well enough that Sony's going to have to now worry to a degree about the Switch 2's viability in terms of like, okay, how many people are considering maybe making this their main driver? I see Corey with the exclamation mark. Yeah, dude. Boss was just busting my balls, is what he was doing. Did you see that Digital Foundry is comparing the Switch 2 to the PS4? I do have an article up that says Nintendo Switch 2 is doing a pretty good job of turning in PS4 level visuals with select enhancements. 40 FPS modes could be very frequent in games thanks to the 120 hertz screen. I mean, I don't know. I can't speak for the wider market, but there's no chance in hell that I'm going to make a console that has the performance levels of a PS4 essentially in the year 2025 my main driver for third party. I would sooner go to PC. I would go to PC before I did that. Um, that's just I'm not like for me that's regression personally. Like if I was still playing on PS4 right now, which some people are, that's different. I might feel differently about that, right? But I'm playing on PS5 Pro right now. There's no chance I'm gonna make my main driver a you ready to play games at 1080p 30 FPS? Like no. If could you imagine a game coming out on PS5 that's running at 1080p 30 FPS? It'd get crushed, as it should. You know, Switch 2 is looking more promising to your family. When I get one eventually, that's basically what it's going to be. It's probably going to get mostly used by Mrs. MBG, but yeah, for me, it's going to be more of like just a family console, But the idea of making it like my daily driver or whatever, there's no chance that's going to happen for me. People who playing on Switch don't care about the frames. Well, I mean, it depends, right? Like, yeah, if you're playing on Switch to get the new Mario or Zelda, yeah, I mean, you probably don't care. You don't care. Like, you just want those games, right? You're not really. I'm sure some people are worried about performance to a degree, but generally speaking, people are just like, no, this is why I bought this machine so I can play these games. But I think the mentality changes when it's like, maybe I'll buy Hogwarts Legacy for it. Maybe I'll buy Call of Duty for it. But it's like, all right, well, I mean, you're gonna get versions that are way behind, even like the base PS5, you know? And I think that that's where people might hesitate. Because I think we're downplaying the amount of people who are already buying and playing their games on PS5 or PC for that matter. You know, $70 to $80 low PS4 level games in 2025. New Turok looks fun. I agree. The new Turok does look good. I think people are a little bit disappointed the direction they're going in with it, but I'm like, I'm all for it. Yeah, sure. Lux, you're saying I told you that would never happen. Third party will always run worse on Nintendo Switch. Don't really care about third party. Sony is the third party machine. See, that's kind of where I stand as well, Lux. Like I think that Nintendo getting strong third party support is going to only help them. Somebody left a comment. I don't know on which video, but it was a recent video where they're like, why are we ignoring the fact that the Nintendo Switch 1 already outsold like the PS4 by like 40 million units or something, or like 30 million units, or just something like that. I'm like, that's the point. That's the point. Is like, I don't really think that anything's going to change. Like, the implication is that people are going to forego PlayStation for Nintendo, and I do not think that's going to happen. Just like I don't think people are going to forego Nintendo for PlayStation. I think both Sony and Nintendo are in these specific and maybe even unique positions that they both carved out for themselves, where it's like people are going to get both. I just don't know that they're going to get both at the same exact time, but I think people are going to get both. There is no PlayStation console launching right now. People don't have to choose between a PS5 and a Switch 2. Everybody who pretty much wanted a PS5 has already gotten one, and the only people who probably haven't are people who've been waiting for games like GTA 6 or something, or always wait till the end of the gen to upgrade. Are there prospective PS5 buyers right now, like those people that haven't upgraded, are they sitting there right now being like, maybe I'll get the Switch 2 instead? I don't think so. I think what they might do is I'll get the Switch 2 now and then maybe postpone the PS5 a little bit longer, or other way around. I'll just get the PS5 now and then get the Switch 2 a little bit later down the line. I don't, if Sony was launching a new console right now alongside the Switch 2, the conversation I think would be different. Nintendo is all about selling their own brand. Exactly. Yeah. And I think Nintendo leverages their first party IP strength more so than anything else. They prioritize first-party strength over third-party. And I think Sony basically does the opposite. I think Sony still obviously prioritizes their first-party branding and IP, but I think Sony's also well aware that like one of their biggest strengths, like to a to a degree where it is a major priority, is third-party games. Like let's not forget that at the PlayStation event, the PS5 reveal event in September of 2020, one of the games that was revealed was Hogwarts Legacy, dude. And that got over 20 million views and like was one of the top, for a lot of people, one of the top motivators to go buy a PS5. And that game was available on PC and Xbox as well. And I think it reveals the strength, of hold on. Lux, you're saying how much could the PS5 be with tariffs before GTA 6? Dude, I'm telling you, I think Sony's going to hold out as long as they can. I think Sony's going to hold out as long as they can. Poor guy Sony. Donkey Kong Bonanza looks fun. Guys, hold on one sec. Oh, wait, hold on. Before I go, though, Corey the Legend comes in and drops a 5-bomb. Corey, thank you so much, man. Corey's like,
I'll be back.
Every day the boss. Corey's like, I'll be back, bro. Thank you for that. Yeah, we'll see if we can push for that 25 gold today. Would definitely be great if we can get to that. Give boss some treats. Help support the channel. Wes finally got a gift. Did he? Holy shit, he did. Oh my God, how long has it been? Guys, hold on one second. Thanks for covering for me, boss. You're trying this one more time, MBG. Say it with me. South of midnight. Nah, more. Okay. Note to self: read the chats in my head before I start reading them out loud. It's beast mode. You're trying to stir the pot, bro. You're trying to cause problems. Oh man. Listen, I think the Nintendo Switch 2, it's going to be just fine, and I think the PlayStation console is also going to be just fine. I'm more concerned. I'm a little bit more concerned about the PlayStation 6 compared to the Switch 2 in that I think the Switch 2, I think the uptake for it is going to be like fine. Even though there is backlash right now, I ultimately think it's going to be fine. I think the PS6 is where Sony might run into a couple of roadblocks that they're going to have to, and I've talked about this with you guys extensively, but yeah, I'm a little bit more concerned about that. When it comes to the PS5, I think the PS5 is fine. I think the PS5 is fine. With all respect, boss, we know who really runs this show. Who runs the show? Josh Z with a $5 chat says, Sony's biggest weakness is they bleed interest in their IP dry and don't bother cultivating everything that they have. I can agree with that, Josh. I think we're literally seeing that in front of us. I think Sony, they mistake, I think, IP growth with IP oversaturation. And I don't think they go hand in hand. I don't think you need to oversaturate your IP in order to achieve growth. I understand where they're coming from, where like they want to grow like a franchise like The Last of Us as rapidly as they can. So they think if we just do everything at once as quickly as possible, But I do think that, yeah, Sony would be better off maybe spreading things out a little bit more, giving more room, giving these IPs a little bit more room to breathe and, spreading the field a little bit. And what you're saying, Josh, Sony not leveraging enough of their catalog, I think is a good point. If you get a chance, check out the engine tech demo for Crimson Desert. Right, I'll see if I can remember to look into that. Hang tight, boss. We'll see if we can get there. Yeah, Josh, it'll be interesting to see if Sony maybe changes their strategy a little bit now that they have new leadership. It seems like they might be preparing to do that based off of what we've been hearing. And we have Oliver. Remember, for 23 months, he says, Days Gone, Oblivion, Metal Gear Solid Delta, Gothic this year will be good. Will be a good gaming year. Never thought I will be the retro gamer someday, but those woke games, man. Those woke games. And Corey the Legend comes in and drops a 20 bomb.
Holy shit.
Corey's not playing around today.
I'm no hero. Never was. Never will be.
W's in the chat for Corey. I'm going to have to play all the sound bites at once now. And one more, just for good measure.
Boasty, read me. It's time to feed the beast.
Oh, Luna's here too. All right, Luna, I'll give you some too. I'm not gonna make her wait. But Corey, thank you so much, man. That just immediately crushed the goal. Corey doing the heavy lifting today. Once again, doing some amazing work for the community and the channel here. We are now at 26 members. Love to see it. And we'll see. We'll see if we can go beyond that. We can always strive for a second goal of 50. If we hit that, we'll do some reps. We'll do some reps. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. And Oliver, just to get back to what you were saying with your milestone chat, and thank you for being a member for 23 months, by the way, dude. I just went over like a list of games that are all coming out starting in like a week and a half from now. And it's crazy to think that there's still so many games without specific release dates that are going to fill in a lot of these gaps. And I already feel just like totally overwhelmed. I feel totally overwhelmed. But again, it's a good problem to have. And we have Lux with a super chat saying Sony's biggest weakness right now is not letting the sales they need with their, not getting the sales they need with their own IPs. Third parties making them so much money. Well, this is why Sony is still pursuing live service, dude. Why they haven't given up on it. Because, yeah, they kind of see the fact that it's not that they're, I would say, hitting a ceiling with sales for their first party games. We don't know if they've hit that ceiling yet, but that they're not able to kind of see a major spike where they're not seeing a jump from this game sold 10 million and then this one just sold 20. They're not seeing that. It seems like the growth for their own IPs is going to be a bit slower and take more time. And there is always the possibility that maybe they did hit the ceiling and they'll just kind of waver up and down going forward. But if they can get these successful live service games, like another Helldivers 2, like maybe with Marathon, or even something down the line, this will essentially make it so that Sony won't need to. It'll alleviate a lot of the pressure on Sony's IP, where it's like, hey, Naughty Dog, don't worry, you can release your single player game, and it's okay if you don't hit 10 million sales. We'd like you to. We're still want to push for that. But it's like we have like multiple live service games that are constantly raking in money and successful, and it will kind of mitigate that. The truth is, one or two extremely successful live service games for Sony will do more for them monetarily speaking, profit wise, than like 10 successful single player games can. And that's why Sony's not going to give up live service. And that's why I think we do want to see Sony have some level of success on live service, because we don't want to see purely all the pressure put on the shoulders of these single player games. Because when it's like that, all it takes is one or two failures or games that just don't live up to that expectation necessarily, and it can cause a collapse, frankly, for a studio. And you're saying here, Lux, it's harder for Sony IP to grow. Mario, for example, can be multiple games, kart, platform, RPG, sports. Can't really do that with The Last of Us. That's very true, and that's why I really wish that. And I'm sorry that I always sound like a broken record with this, but this is why it's like, Sony, you got to do something with The Last of Us Online, because that was the answer. Like, yeah, you can't. I mean, they could make a Last of Us kart, they could make a Last of Us RPG, but it really wouldn't make much sense. What makes the most the most sense, I'm reading the chat while I'm talking, what makes the most sense is Sony deciding we need to have a live service Last of Us game, because it's the same game, but in a different environment, right? It's put out there in a different way. And the whole idea is we can give you The Last of Us in a way that makes sense for us to constantly make money off of it, and in a way for you to constantly engage with it. But the solution that Sony seemingly still doesn't have for something like that is, how do you're not just putting out a Last of Us kart game. You're not putting out a Last of Us RPG game. You're putting out a game that needs to be constantly maintained. And so you're going to need a dev team constantly working on it. And that seems to be the problem that they just still haven't found the solution for. But I think that was the answer. IBG, mate, about the statue idea. What do you think? What statue idea? Hold on, what did I miss? What did I miss? Boss, you want some catnip too? Yeah. Give him a little bit. Give him a little bit of catnip. Why not? Everybody's Joel's golf. There you go. Scroll up on the chats. Hold on. You want some? Okay. Come on. Boss earned a statue. We need to get a boss statue. Boss, we're gonna have to get you your own statue, bro, so it can be worshipped. I'll have to think about this, Corey. We'll see what we can do. The Last of Us baseball. Angry Whale Watcher with a super chat says, can wait for the Lunar Silver Star Story remake this month. Both 1 and 2 on PS1 sell for over $100 these days. I have wanted to play Lunar 2 for 30 years. I think you meant to say can't wait. Yeah, dude. I don't know anything about these games, but I have been seeing people talk about them. And that's interesting. You're saying that both 1 and 2 on PS1 sell over for $100 these days. I'm assuming this is going to make them go down in price. It will be on the astral plane for all of us to admire. The Last of Us Golf. Yes. There we go. Come on, Sony. Make it happen. Well, Angry Whale Watcher, it's always cool to see people expressing their excitement for upcoming games. That's kind of why I titled my stream the way I did today, because I was just sitting back and thinking about, like, man, there's really so much coming out. And I get it. Like, there's a lot of things to talk about and in the sense of like being negative and complaining, but I don't know, man. When it just comes back to simply sitting down, playing games, and enjoying them, I mean, there's really a lot, I think, for people to look forward to. The tariff's got the 5090 at 3600 right now. Oh my God, that's crazy. Sony is, I think, going to have to find different ways to grow their IP. And I think they're going to have to be careful with it because, again, they, I think, are at risk of, like, Like, for example, when I checked the uh, PlayStation YouTube channel the other day for The Last of Us Part 2 PC, they put out the launch trailer. And in the launch trailer comments, all you saw were people saying, I think this needs to be remade. I think it's been out for too long. You got to remake it. I mean, that's all you saw. Just people joking about it. I'm like, this is the problem with the way Sony's handling this, where it's like they are oversaturating it with too many remasters and remakes. And just, it's the only thing we've heard about from Naughty Dog this entire generation. So it makes sense that people are going to kind of clown on it. It kind of makes sense that people are going to clown on it. But I don't know. I think for Naughty Dog, things got messed up because there was supposed to be a new Last of Us game. Let's face it. There was supposed to be a Last of Us online game that we're playing right now. And it just doesn't exist now. So I think that really hurt them. RU46 N2 Ray, a longtime member, 43 months. Thank you for that, buddy. He says, MBG, what's one thing I wish PlayStation would implement in the console or a game from a first-party announcement? Not from games we already know. Keep it up. So you're asking me what I would wish for. Hold on. Sorry about that, Ray. What's one thing that I wish PlayStation would implement in their console or a game from a first-party announcement? Well, when it comes to the console, I'm not really sure. That's a tougher one for me to answer. Simply because when it comes... Oh, my God. I'm sorry. I'm like having a... This is the problem sometimes about letting Boss and Luna in this space here. They get hair everywhere, and it like messing me up, dude. It's messing me up. When it comes to the console side, am I doing ASMR? I'm not really sure what else I would want to see Sony implement. I mean, that's one of the things that I don't even feel comfortable trying to predict or speculate about, simply because that's their job. I think it's too difficult at this point. I mean, I'm very happy with the PS5 Pro. I know it can get better than the PS5 Pro, and obviously the PS6 will be a major upgrade to the PS5 Pro. But what Sony decides to implement into that console to like win me over and really, really sell me on it? Oh, Fred. Give it a good hawk to a yep. It doesn't help, the shape of the microphone doesn't help what you're saying, Fred. Really doesn't. Ray's just like, answer my damn question, man. Wait, I thought Summer Game Fest was June 6th. Hold on. I don't think that's correct. June 6th, not 9th. Just so we're on the same page. June 6th. All right. Yeah, just wanted... Because I was like, hold on a second. June 9th. I had the wrong date. No, it's all good, Ray. It's easier for me to answer like a first-party game. I mean, dude, I know that this isn't... Like, this is never going to happen, but I would like to see... I saw Corey mention a Metal Gear Solid remake. What I would like to see is Bluepoint work with Konami. Sony, Bluepoint, and Konami work together, where Bluepoint's going to remake from the ground up the first two original Metal Gear games for the MSX with Kojima's blessing. And maybe some consultation from Kojima. I mean, look, if it could be anything I want, that's what I would want. So it's like, we're going to get Metal Gear Solid 3, Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 4. These games are all probably going to be remade. But the two games that started it all, that started the Metal Gear series, I would love to just see a modern, contemporary version of that. And I would trust Bluepoint with it. I think that would be the best, like, kind of middle ground for Bluepoint, where it's like, we're making something technically new where we've never seen these two games brought up, and they can have some liberty, to do a couple things differently. Um, that would be sick, in my opinion. But it's so unrealistic, and I think clearly never going to happen. Outside of that, one thing I always think about as well, and I know I'm not talking about like PlayStation first party IPs, but another thing I think about is the fact that one of the games that Neil Druckmann listed off that he would have liked to have worked on, like Naughty Dog, is like an IP. If they had the chance to work with an IP and make a game based off it, is The Punisher. And I'm like, now that from Naughty Dog would be amazing. That to me is a match made right there. So I don't think that's ever going to happen either. But those are like the two things that really kind of, we're talking about like just dreaming about things that'll probably never happen. But it would be amazing if they did. Don Tendo Matrick. Oh. Is that the next playable character in Smash? Yeah, Petrov, I don't know if you knew that or not, but Neil Druckmann did say he would like to make a Punisher game. That would be very, very cool. You guys need to punish Nintendo for the $90 games. We need to punish Nintendo. How do we punish Nintendo? Basically calling people who don't buy brokies. Nintendo literally said, quote, "We know not everyone can afford the Switch 2, which is why the Switch 1 will be available and we'll have new games going into 2026, end quote. I hate Nintendo calling everybody brokies. It's a risky play to take that stance. It's risky because we've seen other companies take a similar stance before and didn't really work out in their favor. But I feel like Nintendo, they can get away with it, man. I hate to say it. Do you see what I'm talking about, though? When I say that the separation has occurred, we are seeing the separation where these companies are not going to be afraid to make it clear going forward that you're either going to pay the money and have access to the product or you're not. The only company that I think is going to try to work against that or continue to work against that is Microsoft. And I think the reason for that is because it's just easy to lean in that direction with something like Game Pass. But at the same time, Microsoft is a business. They could see that this is becoming the trend and just get on it as well. So I do believe that we are seeing this clear separation where people are beginning to get priced out of games. And I don't think the companies are going to sit there and be like, "Oh, we're so sorry. We don't want to price you out." I don't think they're doing it to purposely price people out, but it's the way things are going. And I just think that, yeah, man, you're going to have to figure out if, again, on a consumer level, if you're able to keep up with it or not. But I don't think we've reached that breaking point. I know it's not like the popular thing to say right now. I'm not trying to say the popular thing. I'm just trying to say the honest thing. And it's simply that if you were willing to pay $70 for a video game, for most people who are willing to pay $70, paying $80 probably isn't going to be the straw that breaks your back. You know what I mean? For some people, it might. Microsoft's going to be like, "We have Game Pass for you." Yeah, dude. Now they can say it. Fizzant might be the announcement that Konami sold the Metal Gear rights to Kojima. Opinions? No, I don't think so, Corey. The only thing I could see happening, and this is a monumental stretch, Konami wouldn't sell the rights to Metal Gear. They definitely wouldn't do that. But maybe, just maybe, there's a chance that we'll find out Fizzant is actually Metal Gear Solid. and there's like some major announcement that Konami and Kojima have agreed to do this. Kojima wants to make a new Metal Gear, and Konami is just going to license it out, and Sony facilitated that. There's a 99% chance that's not happening, but there is still that 1% chance that you never know. I mean, I still think about the fact that Kojima put that in the trailer, dude, for Death Stranding 2, where a character that looks just like Solid Snake brings up the bandana. I mean, what is bro teasing? Clearly something Metal Gear. I don't know what he's trying to say. Like, is Kojima trying to say, like, I still didn't move on from Metal Gear? Is it just supposed to be a nod? I mean, everything Kojima does, he's always, like, kind of hinting at Metal Gear. Like, even when we saw the Death Stranding director's cut, he had that whole cutscene where Sam encountered the cardboard box and got in it like Snake. You're all for that 1%? It's true until proven otherwise. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get my hopes up, but Lux, you're saying get a second job or quit gaming? Well, I think for most people, there is an in-between. I think the in-between is rather than quit gaming and rather than be forced to get a second job just to maintain your gaming habits. I say habits like it's like you're an addict or something, but to maintain the playing of video games in the way that you've been doing it. I think for most people, the in-between is just become way more picky. I think that's what it is. I think it's that, like, if you were buying every 6 months, like 3 games or 4 games or something like that, maybe that drops down to 1 or 2, maybe even just 1. Maybe that's how it goes. I did see people talking about the idea of Sony's games going up to $80. And again, we have been discussing this, but something I failed to mention that I think we should absolutely consider, because it could be quite possibly the biggest difference maker between Sony pricing their games at $80 and Nintendo pricing their games at $80. And that is that, at least with Sony games, you can bank on them going down in price over time. With Nintendo's games, that's not a thing. Nintendo's games are going to remain $80 forever, for almost the entire time, or pretty much the entire time, and beyond that of the any given generation. So, like, with Sony's games, there is a chance that if you're willing to wait 6 months, 9 months, something like that, it'll be $20 off, maybe $30 off. I will say I have noticed that some of Sony's games have been holding their prices better than they used to. Some of Sony's games used to drop down to like $10 or $20, if I remember correctly. Now I'm noticing a lot of their games are maintaining $30, $40, $50, sometimes even $60, price points pretty well. So I do think that if the price does go up for Sony to $80, yeah, it'll get a lot of blowback as well and a lot of backlash. But I do think a lot of their games will drop in price. And I think people will be more willing to wait. And that's where I think Sony needs to be aware that people may respond differently to a PlayStation 6 game being $80 than, a Nintendo game being $80, because people are aware that Sony games go down in price over time. So more people might just decide to wait. Whereas with Nintendo has conditioned players to not expect price drops ever. So they're just likely going to say, okay, day one. Something for Sony to consider. Lux, you're saying Konami makes so much money from pachinko machines that they have no need to sell the rights to their IPs. Exactly. Yeah. And now they're reviving their IPs. So there were rumors back in like 2021 that Konami was considering selling their IPs, but we never had those rumors verified. And looking at where we see Konami now with Silent Hill and Metal Gear making a comeback, and I think Castlevania is going to get announced this year, it seems to me that they weren't actually looking to sell the rights of their games, but looking to license them and looking for partners to work with. And the rumor that really caught my attention back in 2021 was the rumor that claimed Sony was trying to convince Konami to sell their IP to them. And I really do wonder if there was any truth to this. Like the idea of Jim Ryan being on the phone with, somebody higher up at Konami being like, "You guys want to sell Metal Gear? Like, we'll buy it. What's your price?" That'd be very interesting. But maybe it was just a made up rumor. Nobody can make Metal Gear Solid except Kojima. I mean, that's what's weird to me, man, is that like Kojima, I think, gives this. I think Kojima, I think I don't say he's a liar, but I think he tries to lie to himself. Where I think for many, many, many years, Kojima wanted to believe that he's done with Metal Gear, but he can't. Like, I think ultimately he doesn't want to be done with Metal Gear. I think that's where he always wants to go back to. I think he loves Metal Gear, dude, and I think he wants to keep making Metal Gear. I think the fact that Fizzant is basically going to be a spiritual successor to Metal Gear kind of proves that. The fact that after every mainline Metal Gear game, he's like, "This is my last one," but then makes another one. The fact that we're seeing him still put Metal Gear stuff inside of games like Death Stranding so overtly, I think it to me it confirms that you're not fooling anybody, Kojima. You love Metal Gear. That's your thing, dude. Metal Gear's your thing. And that's what makes me wonder if deep down Kojima would actually be open to actually reestablishing some kind of connection with Konami. It would be monumental if that happened. I'm not expecting it. I'm not anticipating it, but I do wonder if deep down he's like, maybe I will answer the phone if Konami calls. I don't think that's true. You're saying Kojima kept doing Metal Gear Solid because Konami forced him to make those. I mean, I do think there was some excess pressure on him. Like, for example, apparently one of the reasons why Kojima decided to direct Metal Gear Solid 4 was because he was straight up getting death threats from fans. Which, I mean, I'm laughing, but it's like not funny. Like, damn, dude. And he felt like obligated, like, okay, I guess I have to do this. But I think deep down there is that part of him that's like, come on, Kojima, you know you want to make another Metal Gear. He can't help himself. Kojima knows who's really in charge of stealth gameplay. What's his Xbox game called? It's called OD. And he's working with Jordan Peele on it. And we still have yet to see anything meaningful for it. But what's interesting about the OD game is, according to Kojima, it's a smaller game. And Lux, I'm sorry, I almost missed your chat here. You're saying Metal Gear Solid is not Metal Gear Solid without Kojima. Won't even play Delta. Really? I mean, that's a hard line stance, bro. I can't say that I am in the same place at all. I am thrilled to play Metal Gear Solid 3. I'm actually kind of shocked at the way this year's playing out, where it's like we're going to get Death Stranding 2, which is Kojima's new game with his new series. And then a couple months after that, a full-blown Unreal Engine 5 Metal Gear Solid 3 remake. I mean, it seems too good to be true. I can respect that, though. I can. If you're somebody who's like, look, man, I'm not touching it if Kojima's not involved, I can respect it. But I'm definitely not in that camp. We talked earlier in the stream about the idea of getting like review codes and stuff. If there's anybody here that's a Konami rep or has any connections to a Konami rep, if I could speak, please email me. I would love to get a review code for Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta. Meanwhile, Lux is in the chat saying Delta's a shallow cash grab, F Konami. That's not me saying that, Konami. Just putting that out there. I mean, there's no denying that people are still very upset about the falling out between Kojima and Konami in 2015. And I get it. Hell, Konami probably gets it too. You could tell Konami's a little bit nervous. They should be. They got to handle it with care. Is that Guillermo del Toro? A code for Delta is not a physical copy, MBG. I know, but if I had the opportunity to get like a review code and I could have a review ready to go, that yeah, I'd be all over that. See if I can make it happen. I don't know. How do I get in contact with Konami? Clip it. Corey, I'm telling you, man, Metal Gear Solid 1 is the next game in line to get remade. But I just don't know how they're going to pull that one off. I feel like Metal Gear Solid 1 is going to be more difficult than what they're doing here with Metal Gear Solid 3. Delta for the Switch 2, there were rumblings that this game is going to launch on the Switch 2, but as of right now, it hasn't been announced officially. So can't confirm that. You're thinking 2029? What, for the Metal Gear Solid 1 remake? What I'm more interested in, there are many things I'm interested in with Metal Gear right now, but after Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta launches, I'm interested in the possibility of Metal Gear Online coming back, because Konami, when talking about Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta, acknowledged Metal Gear Online. Not in a big way, but they did put it out there that they're trying to gauge fan interest in a possible Metal Gear Online return. And I would be all over that. So I'm very curious to see what happens there. I'm also very curious about the Metal Gear Solid Collection Volume 2, what games are going to be in that, because I think that's going to be the next actual Metal Gear product we get after Delta. I think it's safe to say Metal Gear Solid 4 will be in it, and that's going to be massive for me, because Metal Gear Solid 4 is like one of my all-time favorite games. I mean, truly. And to be able to play that on the PS5 Pro, potentially in like 2026 or something, is going to be amazing. I don't know if they'll bring in Metal Gear Solid 5, right? I Peace Walker. There's a lot that they could do, but I think Metal Gear Solid Delta basically marks the beginning of Konami really starting to do a lot more with Metal Gear. Well, actually, the original collection, Volume 1, that marked the beginning, and I think we're, the second wave is about to kick off. Old games on new consoles. I mean, yeah, why not, man? Why not? New games on new consoles, old games on new consoles. Let's get it all. Let's get it all on there. The gameplay in MGS5 is unmatched even today. That's why I'm really curious to get my hands on Metal Gear Solid Delta, because you can tell that they took some of the different mechanics and animations from Metal Gear Solid 5 and put it into Delta. And I'm just so curious to see how it translates, how it feels. It looks like it feels amazing based off of what I'm seeing. Like, it looks like it's going to feel incredible to play Delta. I can't wait. I can't wait. It'll be here very soon, though. You played laser tag with Konami guys as part of a corporate challenge at my old job. They were pretty cool guys. Oh, that's really cool, right? Damn. Peace Walker's your favorite? Peace Walker was really good. I was shocked at how good Peace Walker was. It was addicting. It had some like Monster Hunter. I can't speak. Monster Hunter-esque qualities. I noticed when I played Peace Walker, which I was kind of surprised by. Very addicting. Very addicting gameplay loop in Peace Walker. And very different from the mainline Metal Gear games that we played. Corey says, here's what I think could be great. MGS2 remake, but more emphasis on controlling Snake / Pliskin, aiding Raiden, throughout. You know what's really interesting about you saying that, Corey, is I just saw a video that was being pushed on YouTube through, I guess, recommendations. And it was titled something like the biggest Metal Gear Solid, not scam, but like troll or something of all time. And that's what it was focused on. The idea of like you could play as Snake and as, Pliskin. And I didn't click on it. I probably should have clicked on it because I should have looked into like what they were actually talking about. But really interesting timing of you saying that. And maybe you came across that video too. That would be really interesting. Yeah, I thought it was cool in Metal Gear Solid 2 Substance when you could do the VR challenge missions and you could actually play as Pliskin. I'm like, I mean, you could play Snake slash Pliskin. I'm like, this is sick. So them doing something like that would be very, very interesting. But I could see it causing some backlash if Kojima's not involved. Marathon was announced as a multi-plat years ago. Yeah, dude, I saw a post trend on Twitter today. This is why, this is why, bro. Like, I go on Twitter and I just see nonsense. Corey's like, I thought it was an original idea. Well, listen, if you didn't know about that, then it is still an original idea for you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take that away from you. I saw this post that went kind of viral of somebody saying, I was told that Marathon was going to be a PlayStation exclusive after Sony acquired Bungie. And, like, you could read it with that kind of, like, that snark. And I'm like, no. Nobody, no. That's not a thing. That's not a thing. Nobody said that. Like, I'm listen, I'm not talking about the random, like, 3 people on the internet that said that, but nobody was saying that. Everybody asked immediately if Bungie's next game was going to be exclusive, and Bungie literally said the day the acquisition went down, no, we're going to continue to release our games on all platforms. And even Sony reaffirmed that. And this is what I mean about people just, if there's something I've learned you can do in 2025, maybe you could do this the whole time, but it seems to have just gotten worse, is you can just say things like that, where it's like, there's no truth to that. There's no truth to that. There's no substance. You're just making something up. But it will go viral and people will treat it as like, yeah, what now, ponies? It's coming to Xbox. Like, bro, it was announced as an Xbox game day one. Before it was even officially announced, it was announced as an Xbox game. What are you talking about? There is no win. There's no dunk. There is no nothing. It's just, this is how it's been the whole time. PlayStation doesn't do exclusives anymore. I mean, listen, were there like some people asking the question, could Sony have maybe decided to make it exclusive after the whole fallout that happened with Bungie post-acquisition? Maybe, yeah, sure. But like, it's just a natural question that people are asking based off of Bungie basically collapsing internally. However, I think, no, like, I said yesterday, and I'll maintain this, that I think it's a good thing that Marathon's going to release on Xbox. I think it would be kind of a mistake to rip that off of Xbox because it's Bungie, dude. You have built it, even though there are not as many players on Xbox, you still have a built-in established fan base when it comes to Bungie on Xbox. I think Sony would be foolish to go out of their way to make a game that they already announced coming to Xbox, not coming to Xbox, when it has the potential of actually doing well. PlayStation must be extremely nervous about Marathon's success if they're sending big care packages to Xbox content creators. Well, see, that's what I mean, though. Like, the connection with Bungie and Xbox has always been, I mean, dude, you're talking about Bungie. They're the original creators of Halo, man. Halo was what convinced most people back in the day to even look at Xbox and pick it up. So it's not, I don't think it shows a sign of nervousness. I think it's just Sony maybe being smart and leaning into like, dude, people on Xbox love Bungie and are, well, we can't guarantee how well something like Helldivers 2 would do on Xbox or, a single player game we put over there. But I think a pretty safe bet is the next mainline Bungie game is going to do well on Xbox. It's going to do well on PlayStation. That's one decision that, like, if Sony went out of their way to make Marathon exclusive, I would actually say, I think, Sony, you're making a mistake. I would say that because it's Bungie, dude. I'm not trying to like give Bungie special treatment, but they kind of earned it in the fact that they're like the only company that was originally owned by I think they were independent. Then they were owned by Microsoft. Then they were owned by Activision. Then they're owned by Sony, and it's like, bro, what? How many other video game studios and companies can you say have ever been in that position? And I think Bungie is truly in this unique position where it's like, yeah, you should probably put this game on Xbox, because if you don't, you're potentially leaving out a major audience this time around. Maybe you can't say that. Oh, they were owned by Apple. Okay. Oh, yeah, yeah. And I think Microsoft, like, no, weren't they going to be purchased by Apple? But then Microsoft came in and scooped them up. So why did people expect Doom to be exclusive to Xbox or all their games? Well, because the Bethesda situation was a little bit different. People were expecting that Microsoft was going to use all of their newly acquired studios and IP as leverage. Like, we're going to leverage these games on our console to convince you to buy our console. And they did try with Starfield, but it didn't work out. So I think that Sony, I think when you look at Bungie, I don't think Sony making Marathon exclusive, a console exclusive to PlayStation, would be leveraging anything. I think at that point you are cutting off your own nose to spite your face. I can't say I would, like, for something like Horizon, I would say that's fine. Like, the Horizon multiplayer game, yeah, that doesn't need to go on Xbox because that's a PlayStation IP. I think people expect that not to be on Xbox. And I don't know how big of an audience there even would be on Xbox for something like a Horizon multiplayer game. Yeah, I don't think Apple ever owned Bungie. Lux, you're saying Marathon will burn out fast. Don't see the mass appeal. It could, but I don't know. I'm taking a glass half full approach with Marathon, where maybe Bungie could really be the studio to proliferate, if I'm saying that correctly, the extraction shooter genre in a big way. The biggest extraction shooter I think that's out there is Escape from Tarkov. There have been others, but even Call of Duty tried it with DMZ and it didn't take off. So you could make the argument, if Call of Duty tried it and it didn't work, then yeah, maybe this is a lost cause. But Bungie's big, like, just give them a chance, I would say. That's what I'm doing. I'm giving them a chance where it's like, all right, Bungie, you've been around long enough and you've made enough games and have done a good enough job that I absolutely am willing to give you the benefit of the doubt in this regard, where it's like, let's see what you can do, And if they end up dropping the ball, man, and failing, then it is what it is at that point. It'll be unfortunate, but I did see people saying that this is another Concord situation, and that to me is comical. Like, I don't know if people are actually paying attention, but I was there. I was paying attention when Concord was announced, and people were like, I've never seen a PlayStation announcement get that much hate, ever. And I've seen some PlayStation announcements get some hate. I'm not seeing any of that with Marathon. The most I'm seeing with Marathon are people expressing trepidation. They're like, like, I hope it's good. They're expecting it might not be for them. But I'm not seeing people expressing, like, they're not like, oh, this game looks garbage. I did see one person on my stream yesterday, in my comment section. They said that nobody's excited for Marathon and it looks trash. And I'm like, you're just objectively wrong. That's factually incorrect, but whatever, bro. But outside of like random one-off comments like that, generally speaking, people seem confident. Or if not confident, they seem interested. And that to me is an immediate 180 compared to Concord. There was no interest in Concord, dude. That was the craziest thing. When I, like, looking back on it, like, everybody literally was looking at Concord being like, why does this exist? You got Herman Hulst over there like, what do you mean? What? Wait, what? Lux, you're saying you weren't giving them a chance a couple months ago. Well, to be fair, I had an axe to grind with Bungie because of misreporting and miscommunication. And we've since had everything cleared up. I was pissed off at Bungie because originally it was thought that Bungie was the reason why The Last of Us Online got canceled. We had this idea that Bungie was going around to each studio being like, nah, your game sucks. Sorry. Like, basically turning to Sony and being like, nah, you should cancel that. And it wasn't like that at all. Which makes more sense because it's like, why would Sony give Bungie that type of power? It seems like what Bungie did was basically just try to guide studios and give them advice. Like, you know, for example, with Naughty Dog, apparently Bungie had nothing to do. The only thing Bungie did was let Naughty Dog know, if you're planning on making this game a success as a live service, you're going to have to constantly put content out and have like a long-term roadmap, like not just a month or two, like a year at least, or more than a year. And the only way you're going to do that is by having a dedicated team constantly making content for this. And that seemed to have scared the shit out of Naughty Dog, where they're like, wait, I don't know. It's interesting to think that Naughty Dog really was that out of touch, where like they didn't realize this. Like they didn't prepare for that. They're like, oh, wait, shit. Well, yeah, we're going to need to keep making content for this, aren't we? Or maybe, here's another thing. Maybe originally Naughty Dog was under the impression that they could, form a team of 600 to 700 people, and they could have a whole dedicated like third section of Naughty Dog working on the multiplayer. And maybe Sony was like, no way. That's too expensive. We're not doing that. And so maybe at the end of the day, Naughty Dog was forced to decide, like, you're either going to stick with Intergalactic and making multiple single player games at one time, or you're going to divvy it up and you're only going to be able to work on one single player game at a time. Yeah, I agree with that, okay? It does seem impossible that they didn't know. I'm more inclined to think that maybe Sony gave them the ultimatum a little bit, and Bungie maybe just kind of gave them their honest, thoughts on, like, you guys are going to have to dedicate yourself to this. You're not going to be able to maintain this unless you have a team working full time on it. And that's where they were just like, all right, well, forget it. We're not going to bother going this direction. Because everything we heard about The Last of Us Online is that it was very good. That makes me so sad, dude. Apparently it was very good. And so I had this axe to grind with Bungie for the longest time, thinking that they were basically the villains. It turns out that Bungie weren't the villains. It turns out Bungie was collapsing financially, and Sony didn't know. Bungie cooked the books on Sony, bro. And Sony found out. And it turns out that Bungie was just heavily mismanaged, monetarily speaking. And I think that the last expansion for Destiny 2 proves that they still got it. Like people, apparently Destiny fans loved it, and it was amazing. And they really pulled through. But it's just the amount of money that expansion needed to make to offset everything was just unrealistic and impossible. And Bungie was the one who, apparently, like the leadership at Bungie were the ones who apparently led to that kind of collapse. Isn't that financial fraud? Well, I'm being I'm exaggerating a little bit. I don't know if they literally cooked the books, but it seems that maybe Sony didn't do enough due diligence. They should have made, and that's what makes me think that, was Bungie ultimately a panic buy? Because at the time, the announcement of Sony buying Bungie came immediately after the Activision Blizzard announcement from Microsoft. And the claim was that they were talking to Bungie for months ahead of time, which I believe, because you can't just make an announcement like that overnight. But I think Sony was meant to do more due diligence before they decided whether or not they want to spend that $3.6 billion. And maybe the pressure was applied when they're like, oh my God, Microsoft just bought ABK. And Jim was just like, buy it. Or maybe it wasn't even Jim. Maybe it was the previous CEO. Microsoft turned him down. You think so? So, all in all, man, I do think that Marathon has a chance. I think it has a real chance. And I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm looking forward to seeing what Bungie has cooked up here. I'm prepared to be let down by it. To be clear, like, I'm prepared to play. I want to see if they are going to do an alpha. I would like to try to get access to that. I'm prepared to play it and be like, I'm good. That this isn't for me. But I'm also prepared to be like, actually, this is quite good. So I have I have more optimism, much more optimism towards Marathon than I did for something like Concord. I feel the exact opposite about Marathon, comparatively speaking. But I could also see it maybe not living up to the heavy expectation that people have of like this, like, is this going to be bigger than Destiny or as big as Destiny? And I think the answer to that is no. I think this has the potential to be pretty big, pretty successful. But it is true that it's in a niche genre. It's an extraction shooter that is nowhere near being the most popular genre out there. So, the popularity isn't really what matters to me. If it's good or not is what's going to matter to me. So I'm rooting for him, man. It would be really great to see Sony deliver another, considering Concord was the last multiplayer we got and the disaster that was, it would be great to see Sony make a little bit of a comeback here. Where it's like, actually, okay, we messed up big with Concord, but we're coming back with something like Marathon and it's actually good. Like, okay, that's all I'm hoping for. That's all I'm rooting for. You think it'll be similar to Helldivers or slightly above? Believe it or not, I don't think Marathon's going to touch Helldivers. I'll be honest. I think Helldivers truly is the high watermark for Sony. If Sony can produce a live service game, even with Bungie, and I know it's like, well, if anybody can do it, it's Bungie, and maybe. But I would be shocked if Sony could reproduce the success of Helldivers 2 with any of their live service games. Because the thing about Helldivers 2 is that game was not made to be that successful. And I think that's part of why it was so successful. It wasn't like and I'm not trying to like throw shade at Sony's upcoming live service games, but it's like one of these things where all the games that are trying the hardest to be the biggest and the best are the ones that are struggling. And the one game that's like, we're just, they're just being modest about it. Yeah, they're the underdog. They're just like, we're just trying to make a good game that hopefully finds some audience. The game that we think is best. And that's the one that like explodes, because I think that's kind of what people are in the mood for right now. They're in the mood for something truly a little bit different. And that is the one advantage that Bungie has going for them. It is true that a lot of people are not familiar with extraction shooters. They haven't played extraction shooters, and Bungie could be that kind of gateway where it's like, we'll be the first ones to introduce this to you. And that could maybe catch fire a little bit or not. I'm just saying there's different possible outcomes here. Lux, you're saying Marathon will have non-binary robot avatars. Well, that's a game I'm going to have to scratch off my list. No, I don't. God, I hope. Please, God, don't. No, don't joke like that. Don't joke like that, Lux. We don't need that again. We don't need that again. It does seem like you're playing as you're not human. I forget what they called it. What did they call it? They're called runners. And they're not like people. I think they are kind of like machines or robots or something. Non-binary. Got you. It's basically Avatar. Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I was getting from it, where it seems like they're being controlled in a way. It's almost like kind of like a simulation. That's how I read it anyway. But I'm not familiar with the lore of Marathon, and I don't know how much of that lore is going to change. I do like the cat, though. Yeah, the pink cat. There was some confusion. People were reporting, or there were like rumors circulating yesterday that Marathon, the reveal that's happening this Saturday, there was going to be like a shadow dropped alpha. And it's now been confirmed that there's not going to be a shadow drop, but there is going to be the announcement of the alpha. And people were feeling kind of bad about this because they're like, well, hold on. If we're just getting an alpha, then that means this game's nowhere near ready to launch. And people were pointing out that Destiny did their alpha 3 months before the game launched. So there's a real chance that, Marathon could be ready to go by July or August. So Lux, you're saying big question is, will Marathon outsell Helldivers 2? No. I'm making that stance right now. I'm just gonna flat out say no. Helldivers 2 is the fastest selling PlayStation Studios title of all time, which is crazy. Like, that's absolutely crazy to think. I do not think Marathon outdoes it. I would think if Marathon can do half of that, I think Sony would be screaming with joy. If Marathon can do half of what Helldivers 2 did, I think Sony will be very happy. Because keep in mind, Sony has experienced the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. And the last thing they experienced was the lowest of low. And I think Sony is just like, okay, we just need to have something that actually works here. The biggest difference, I think, between Marathon and Helldivers 2, though, and this is a big one, is that Marathon is already in position to be properly monetized and treated like a big live service game. Helldivers was not. Helldivers, Arrowhead will tell you they were completely caught off guard, dude. They were not ready to serve an audience anywhere near as big as they got. And they had a pipeline of content that had to be completely reworked and remapped after seeing how many players they got. I think there is a plan already in place that would be considered relatively big, comparatively speaking, for Marathon, where it's like, it is Bungie. They are very experienced with running live service, and there's a big plan, I would say, in place, a big roadmap where they're going to be able to, I think, hit the ground running and not really have, hopefully, many roadblocks along the way. They've been play testing the crap out of this game. They've been play testing this game for the past 6 years. Apparently, it has had some development issues and some development hurdles. The hope is that they've overcome that and they took in the necessary feedback. But, that's just my assumption. The worst thing that could happen is they launch this game, it's bare on content, and they're like, okay, well, we'll have more content coming later, and they're just kind of like dropping the ball that way. I would be very surprised if that's what happened. But, considering how long they've been working on it, that would be kind of strange. Do you think Xbox players are going to be asking for it in Game Pass? I don't think it's going to Game Pass. I don't think it's going to PlayStation Plus. I think this is going to be just a $40 game. And, could that hurt it? Yeah. As a live service, it could. It's an extraction shooter, but I think Sony's going to see if they can do that. If it was free to play, I think that would be almost a guarantee hit for Sony if it was free to play. But I don't even think it's a Sony thing. I think neither Sony nor Bungie want to make this game free to play. But maybe they would. I would be quite surprised by that. Bungie canceled Matter, Destiny 3, The Last of Us Online. Yeah, the Destiny 3 thing, really not sure what's going on there. Doom the Dark Ages, PS5. I'll be there, man. I'll be there. We have Moonshot with a direct donation. He says, every year since 2021, there's been a period of time where too many games are releasing. I swear I hear you say it every year too. Great gen, to be honest. Yeah, I know. It's very annoying. Because I feel like there are like these gaps of time where it's not that games aren't releasing, but it's just simply that there are not many games that I'm particularly interested in releasing. And then for some reason, the next following 3 months, there's a ton of games releasing all at one time, seemingly, that I'm interested in. And it makes me just wish so much that they were more spread out evenly throughout the year. But yeah, man, that's why I say that people talk about how disappointed they are in this generation. And I'm like, I'm not one of those people. There have been some roadblocks. Yeah, there have been some, some things that have occurred that weren't so great. But generally speaking, I would be straight up lying if I said I did not have a very good time. To put things in perspective, I've spent more time gaming this generation by far than any other generation ever. I've played more games this generation than any other generation ever. I've put, I've played a greater variety of games this generation, probably than any other generation. So yeah, man, I just I can't be one of these people that is like, yeah, I'm so disappointed. Like, no, I've loved it. It's had its downsides as well. Absolutely. Could it have been better? Yeah. Should it have been? Maybe. Yeah. But still pretty great overall. Our libraries are barren, then bam, tons of games. You really think it's only going to be $40? They're going to pull a Nintendo and say the quality makes it worth 60 or 70. I mean, there's a chance they could price it higher, but I think Sony needs to keep perspective, right? Like, and I think they will, because Sony needs to they need to look at Helldivers right now and be like, that game was $40. Look at what it did, you know? If Sony wants Marathon to fail, they can price it at 70. But I'll tell you right now, most people are not going to buy that game for 70. No matter how good it is. It's a multiplayer live service. Like they would be out of their minds. If Sony does that, then they're sabotaging Marathon and themselves. That's my opinion anyway. I think if they're going to price it, it's got to be 40. It can't go greater, like it can't go above 40. They can have like early access editions and stuff. That's fine. And that's probably what they'll do to get that higher you know, that higher point of sale at launch, but if they make it like just a flat out $70, no. That's going to be bad. Free for PS Plus premium users? No, I don't think they're going to do anything like that. I think it's just flat out going to be a $40 game. Oh, shit. Dark Horse Direct. The exclusive Last of Us Joel with a brick bust captures every in game detail. Limited to only 1,000 units. Dude, that shit looks awesome. How much is it? It's probably ridiculously priced. Let me check. $150. I mean, that's a lot less than I expected, considering the detail on it. It's pretty much Joel looking like he's about to smash you in the head with a brick. It's a Dark Horse Direct exclusive. I would have thought it was going to be like 300 or $400 or something. That's pretty sick. I like it. Don't know if I'm going to buy it, though. Trending in the United States right now. What the F is going on? So his normal look. Exactly. Why is what the F is going on trending? I have no idea. Just people typing. Does anybody know what the F is going on? We have Julia Nardin, who is Marathon's narrative director. She says the passion that this team has for Marathon's world building and lore is rivaled only by their passion for finding ways to narratively innovate inside the extraction shooter space. Saturday can't come soon enough. So hyping it up a little bit here. All right. Hold on one sec, guys. All right. Head back over here. You didn't realize you were like 2 seconds behind? They have to make sure the super sweats don't take over the game and halt progress for others. Yeah, that's going to be a tough thing for them to do. Like I said, they're going to want to make it accessible, but oh, hold on. Hold on. We have a potential leak with no source, but man, the God of War side project. We have a leak on the Gaming Leaks Rumor subreddit. There is no source, but what they're saying, if it's true, man, the reactions are going to be something. So they say here the God of War side project is going to be a 2D Metroidvania style game. That's it. You can believe me now or see it when it will be released. I'm too lazy to talk about my sources and just wanted to write this. I felt bored for 5 minutes. Bye and have a good day with your games. Cheers. So it's like, it's either total bullshit or it's, oh no. Who said, dude, it's an absolute nobody. It's a person, it's just an anonymous source claiming this. Here's why I want to tell you something. Now, I don't know how many of you guys listen to Sacred Symbols. I'm sure a lot of you here probably do. I was just listening to the latest Sacred Symbols, and at some point in their stream, Colin Moriarty said that he was told what this game is. This God of War side story. But he said he didn't want to say what it was yet because he wanted to verify it. But the way he said that, I caught my attention where I'm like, that's interesting. Like, it's almost like vaguely insinuating that it's going to be something a little bit different than what people think. And this to me is why I'm like, okay, now we're getting a random source on the Gaming Leaks Rumor subreddit claiming it's going to be a 2D Metroidvania. And we all have been sitting here wondering, like, how could Santa Monica justifiably bring back young Kratos and have you play as young Kratos in Greece without completely messing up the timeline? Dude, I'm thinking this is real. Some of you guys are saying boo. I mean, it's so... Here's another leak. It's a first-person shooter. Side of War. It would be similar to Prince of Persia, though. I mean, I would play it. I would still play it. Wait, but is it... Yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe it's total BS. You'd at least give it a chance to win you over. But my question remains, though, if that's what they choose to do, how are you going to... Like, are you retelling the story of the original games? Well, guys, I just want to tell you right now, this could be total bullshit. There's a higher chance that this is total bullshit. This would be quite shocking, though, because I think when everybody thinks of a God of War side project, they're thinking of something like, you know, like the DLC we got for Ragnarok or something. Gaming Survivor is saying, MEG, I was in Jaffe's stream a while ago, and he said he has some loose ideas in mind about how the OG God of War could be done again. You would play it begrudgingly. That's my favorite response so far. I would play it begrudgingly, though. You know, Kratos can jump again. The Assassin's Creed side scrollers aren't bad. I mean, I'm open to it. But see, here's my concern, though. If I'm entertaining this notion that this is real, because again, it could be total bullshit. If this is real, my concern is that people are going to freak out not because it's a side scroller, but because they're like, bro, we're getting this before proper like remasters on PS5. That to me is the big concern. You suspect he wants to return should the chance arise. I'll never confirm it, but I suspect. So you're saying it's like he's like Kojima. People are crazy. Shems, I agree with you there. That could work as long as it's designed well. Do you think that they would like put the first 3 games into like a side scroller experience and like condense it? If it's real, it could be one of the GOAT Metroidvanias. Yeah, I don't know about that Gaming Survivor. He's a loose cannon. You guys would probably love it though. Terrence, you're saying you don't want it. Well, I'm glad the stream could help a little bit, Eternal. I'm glad it could help a little bit. Do the God of War games need remasters? They just seem fine to me. Well, I don't even, I would say that they don't even need remasters as much as what Sony needs to do is make every God of War game playable natively on PS5. To me, that's the problem. Like, I don't care how much effort they want to put in the remasters, but like, if I want to go play God of War 1 right now on PS5, I have to stream it through PlayStation Plus Premium. Like, to me, that's kind of bullshit, you know? So that's why I'm saying it would be so weird. Where it's like, here's this new God of War side scroller. It's like, can we play God of War 1 natively on PS5? No! No, goddamn it. You can't. I think it's bullshit just because it's like, bro, Sony is willing to bend over backwards to bring over games like The Last of Us and stuff, which is fine. Like, all these different games are getting remasters, and I understand they're bigger games and whatnot, but I just feel like considering how big God of War is and how successful it is, it's like, why not just like re-release the PS3 remaster collection on PS5 natively? You know, just slap the PS5 logo on it and, you know, let people buy it that way. I just feel like that's the right thing to do, but I don't know, for whatever, maybe they're saving it. I don't know. Call it God of War Classics. I think they still could charge $60, dude. At the very least, they could charge 40 for like a remaster collection with all 3 games. They could do that. I think people would be okay with. I'd be okay with that. You literally work your way from Greece to Midgar. Oh, that'd be sick. That'd be. Oh, you're thinking maybe like they're gonna bridge the gap. I think they did that in a comic book or something, right? But maybe they can make it playable. PS6 God of War 1 through 3 remaster. Yeah, if we're talking about a basic port, you're right. They couldn't charge that much for it. It would have to be there would have to be more work done to it. But I just wish that they would do something. Sally, you're saying $80 incoming? Why are you saying that? Not seeing anything. The Marvel Entertainment YouTube channel has posted an 8-hour and 36-minute video of Hugh Jackman and Deadpool. No, of Hugh Jackman in his Deadpool and Wolverine suit, just staring at the camera, breathing menacingly. So I assume there's some kind of Wolverine announcement. Oh, Josh, you said another direct? Okay, hold on. Let me go check that. Really quick, Josh, before I read that. So marathon runners, the official description of runners, our goal with runners is to give you a couple of base abilities to build your loadout around while still giving you a lot of freedom to choose what weapons, implants, upgrades, and consumables you bring in. This won't feel like when you just choose a hero and then get whatever weapons / abilities are assigned to them. So that's what Bungie had to say about that. Just wanted to put that out there. But Josh, let me go read your direct donation. I know I read one of them. Okay, yeah, my bad. I should have assumed that there was going to be a second or a follow up. You're saying here, Josh, shameless confession. The thing I'm looking forward to most in Yote is the photo mode, vast vistas, and walking slowly through fields, playing my flute. I don't think that's uncommon, dude. People love photo mode. I mean, dude, half the reason people are going to be taking so long to probably beat Ghost of Yotei is they're going to be sitting around looking at the beauty of the game, admiring it. I love the idea of you just like walking around playing your flute, though. I love it. I can't wait to see Ghost of Yotei, man. Did you see that those Sony concerts were canceled? Yeah, why is that? That's kind of weird, right? Smurf, you're saying Ghost of Tsushima had the best photo mode of all time. Guy Gravity says, I took over 150 photos on PS4 for Ghost of Tsushima. Yeah, dude, see, this is what I'm saying. I'm not surprised. Dude, I think Sony canceled those concerts because nobody was going. You think? Do you think that's why? It's kind of weird. I don't know what to make of it. People were saying they got messages saying it was delayed to 2026. Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, I would be surprised if there weren't enough people wanting to go. I think PlayStation's a big enough brand. They got big enough properties. I think people would go to that. That'd be so funny, though. Like, yeah, it just turns out nobody was interested. It's because of the tariffs. You think that's why unknown? Do you think because PlayStation's game music isn't on the same level as others? Solaire, you're saying I will bet $5 that PlayStation and Xbox will hike game prices to $80 this year. That would be. I was going to say that would be crazy, but I mean, actually, because of the tariffs, we'll see. Putting the tariffs aside, like if there was no talk about tariffs right now, I would say that would not happen. But right now, it's completely unpredictable. It is very much unknown. More like 90. Well, the big thing for now, anyway, and this does impact me, as somebody who likes to buy games physically still, is apparently the price of physical games are expected to go up, specifically physical. And that is something that would be very disappointing. I'd be very disappointed in that. What's up, Titus? Kind of makes sense, but it sucks. Yeah. It feels like physical media has been taking like just blow after blow, you know? Like it really feels like it's just taken a beating. Get rid of this here. I see Xbox 360 is trending. Why is Xbox 360 trending? Oh wow. Oh wow. Okay. So Xbox 360 is trending because of Nintendo's recent comments mirroring Don Matrick. We have a console for you. It's called the Xbox 360. We have a console for you. It's called the Switch One. Damn, dude. It's starting to catch fire. People are paying attention. All right, hold on. I need to get this out of the way. Super Nintendo Matrick. MBG just remembered Marathon. Just remember Marathon utilized was called Runners, not an avatar. It sound well. They're gonna have classes, but you can like heavily customize those classes, which is interesting. No, yeah, my bad. I got to get better at that. I'm always afraid to show stuff on my streams, honestly, because like I never know what's going to get copyrighted and what isn't. Because there have been many things in the past that I thought for sure wouldn't get copyrighted, and then they do, and I'm like, what? Yaren with a $5 chat. Thank you, buddy. Saying after the Switch 2 prices, I can now see why Oblivion Remake might be 70 to 90 US dollars and 80 or 90 for physical, but only rumors. Yeah, Yaren, when it comes to Oblivion, I mean, there are rumors all over the place with this game that apparently it's going to shadow drop any day now. I don't even know if there's going to be a physical version you can buy of it, but I didn't know the pricing was being rumored as well. I guess I didn't really think about how much in Oblivion. Well, is it going to be like a remaster or a full-blown remake? I've just been seeing so much stuff pop up about this Oblivion situation. Yeah, I got to get better at just showing stuff. I try to sometimes. I try to. It's got to be a remake. A remakester. I don't know if I like the term remakester. That sounds kind of cursed, man. I won't lie. Remakester. We need that remakester, that Oblivion remakester. I did see that. Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3 might get PS5 versions. I mean, do you think they're doing anything with the multiplayer? We did hear a couple of years ago that apparently all of Modern Warfare 2's multiplayer maps, like Modern Warfare 2's multiplayer was completely remastered, but Activision decided not to release it. Is there any chance? Is it possible this could happen? At the moment, no one really knows anything other than Bethesda. Is it just a hoax? I don't think it's a hoax. I think it's very much real. But in terms of like when the shadow drop is coming, nobody can seem to really figure that out. The irony of Don Matrick is he gave the best possible advice. The 360 was a better generation than Xbox One. Oh. When you're halfway through the Xbox One gen and you realize, oh man, the 360 was better. I lived it. Yaren, you're saying I've been following you since the dev talked about it on Reddit. The dev stated he was unsure if it's a remake or a remaster. People didn't believe the dev at the time, and the post was, or the original post was deleted. So you've really been following this, Yaren. I'm assuming you're excited for it. Very excited for it. I think we heard that it's going to be, it's going to be done in Unreal Engine, which to me, that, like Unreal Engine 5, I would assume, that tells me it's probably leaning more towards a remake than anything. The shadow drop is interesting, though. You know, like, why not market it? I feel like this is a project that you could easily market and make a big deal out of, but I haven't played Oblivion, but I hear it's rough. It's going to be Skyrim again. Oh, could you imagine? I hear Oblivion is very rough. Like, if you try to go back and play it, it doesn't hold up very well. So it seems like a lot of people are very much excited about whatever this project is because it's going to feel like a more contemporary version, more modernized. Microsoft only markets Game Pass. Or Indiana Jones when it's coming to PS5, apparently. Can't blame them for marketing Indiana Jones on PS5 heavily, though, because I think truly it probably has a better chance of doing very well on PlayStation because people love Uncharted, you know, and Uncharted was kind of inspired by Indiana Jones and Tomb Raider. So if the walking speed is not changed, no way I will buy Oblivion. Mount was mandatory. Yeah, I've heard a bunch of different takes on Oblivion and how it just seems like there needs to be a lot of changes, a lot of work done to it. That was a funny. Yeah, they did a good job with that cross promotion. I liked it. I think a lot of people liked it. It made sense. And Yaren with another super chat. Thank you, Yaren. You're saying very excited. I wish Sony would remake Legend of Dragoon or Legend of Legaia. After Switch 2 prices, Game Pass might go up to $30 monthly. It's interesting. I don't think I've seen anybody bring up the idea of Game Pass prices going up. I think Game Pass will eventually go up in price, no doubt about it. I think Microsoft's just kind of waiting for when they have more people. It seems like the way the subscription services work is whenever they finally get into a really strong position where they have the leverage to be, they have so many people subscribe that they can kind of just, I think this is what we saw with Netflix. Like Netflix just says, screw it now. They just keep increasing it. And then every other subscription service follows suit. And then it just basically becomes like cable. But I do think that eventually Game Pass will go up in price again. I think you'd have to be in some kind of denial to assume that that's not going to happen. When it will happen, that's impossible to say. But whether or not what Nintendo's doing will influence that, I don't know. I'm kind of torn on that. I would assume not much influence. Because I think that it's more likely to make it so that Microsoft starts pricing some of their games at $80 on platforms like PlayStation and Switch, And you mentioned Legend of Dragoon. A lot of people want to see that game remade, but I don't know if it's ever going to happen. That'd be a big one, though. From what I can tell, if Sony ever did decide to remake Legend of Dragoon, there'd be a lot of people very, very, very excited. By the way, guys, we're going to be wrapping this stream up very soon. So we'll do like a last call. If you want to drop any fan funding or any support, now's the time to do it before we wrap up. If you want to drop any membership gifts, we're at 26. Maybe 4 more. We could get up to 30. Round out the day. If you want to become a channel member, drop a super chat, any more direct donations, anything along those lines. Now is the time to do it before we wrap up here. Jade Cocoon remake. Bluepoint. Maybe that's what Bluepoint's going to pitch, dude. Bluepoint's going to come out and be like, hey, can we remake Legend of Dragoon? That would be an interesting one. I wonder if Sony would say yes to it. I think Sony would say yes to anything that Bluepoint wants to remake. Fred, you're saying you're just waiting to see the new prices for Switch 2 since the April 9th pre-orders are not happening in the US? Yeah, I mean, I can't blame you there, man. Right now, I think there's quite a few people that are feeling very antsy about... like, Fred, what he means, Titus, is like we did get the prices, but it's clear that Nintendo is deciding whether they want to increase that base price due to the tariffs, which is why they're not taking pre-orders yet. So it very well could go up. Yaren with another super chat. Thank you, buddy. Says, I don't know why Sony didn't remake Legend of Dragoon. The game was already woke and had a diverse cast of characters, much like Oblivion. They missed their window, bro. Now it's going to get destroyed for being woke. You're saying it was already woke? That's funny. Well, I mean, like I said, something like Legend of Dragoon, I think Shuhei Yoshida mentioned multiple times that he would like to do something with it or like to see it remade or remastered. But I'm not convinced that that's going to happen. I don't know what Sony wants to do with future remakes specifically. We know what they want to do with remasters. Remasters are going to continue to be a thing. But when it comes to like full-blown from the ground up remakes, we need to keep in mind that apparently it was Bluepoint's idea to pitch a God of War multiplayer, supposedly. Bluepoint wants to kind of get away from doing remakes and remasters. So I don't know. I don't know if maybe they'll go back to that now, and maybe that is something they could pitch, but I have seen quite a few people all throughout this generation saying that they would love to see a Legend of Dragoon remake of some kind. You're thinking $550 for the regular Switch and then $600 for the Mario Kart bundle? I was kind of thinking that too. The Metal Eden demo dropped on PS5. Okay. Yeah, I think that comes out May 6th. And Yaron with another super chat. Thank you so much, buddy. Really do appreciate the super chats. You're saying they were going to do a Legend of Dragoon, but it was canceled, and Legend of Legaia was much worse than the first game. And I hope I'm saying that right, by the way. Yeah, I don't really hear people talk about that game. Yaron, where did you hear this? When was Legend of Dragoon supposed to get remade? And why was it canceled? I'm like trying to look it up. I see a bunch of threads coming up of people saying it needs to be remade. Legend of Dragoon upscale project. Huh. Vidino, you're saying, MBG, what happened to the timestamps? Yeah, the timestamps are just not available at the moment. I do apologize for that, but it's just going to have to be the way it is for now. So, I know some people are going to be disappointed in that, but I hope you can still enjoy the streams. The good news is, if you, I'm gonna pull like a Dom Matrick here. The good news is, if you are not happy, or if you're one of those people that can't watch it without the timestamps, you should definitely consider checking out the news videos I put out, because all the topics that we cover in the streams are covered in those news videos. And I know it's not exactly the same, but it's like, if you're just trying to get the important info and my feelings on it, like just my quick take, that's the best way to do that. And Yaron with another super chat says, Legend of Dragoon 2 was a prequel. And sorry, I meant Legend of Legaia 2 was much worse. Mostly the story. Okay. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with these games. I hear people talk about them, specifically the Legend of Dragoon. I've heard people talk about it over and over and over again. And I've watched like some gameplay, but I've never experienced it. So it's one of these games where I'd definitely be intrigued. If they ever do remake it, I would be very intrigued to see how it turns out, see the reception to it, and probably try it myself. But I don't think it's a game that I would like go back and play necessarily. But we'll see what they do, man. I mean, I think Sony might be leaving. Sony might be leaving money on the table, and I think the idea of I think a good idea would be for Bluepoint to maybe consider pitching that, because I think Bluepoint's in an awkward position right now, and I get the sense that if they come out with a Legend of Dragoon remake announcement, it's just going to be an instant win. And yeah, I think that would be good for Bluepoint and Sony. But Aaron, I really appreciate all the super chats, buddy. You're saying with another chat, I'm a former PlayStation fan from PS1 and 2, but now I'm on Xbox for mostly Game Pass. I don't like the new stuff Sony made. That's fair. I mean, there's no denying that stuff like The Legend of Dragoon, like not even just that, but a lot of stuff that you would get from Sony from the PS1 and PS2 days, they don't really seem to be making that type of stuff anymore. They've definitely changed. They've changed. And I come across people quite frequently who are just not necessarily on board with the direction that Sony has decided to go in with their games. I like their games. I'll be honest. I mostly like the direction that Sony's went in. There are some critiques I have, which I've talked about extensively on the channel, but generally speaking, I very much enjoy a lot of the modern PlayStation games. But again, I do have my own critiques. But I wouldn't mind, seeing Sony. And I think I speak for like most PlayStation fans. I wouldn't mind seeing Sony get a little bit more comfortable, or even a lot more comfortable with kind of, no, guys, Devil Shooter's still, to be clear, he didn't like quit the channel or anything like that. No, like we're still good. Everything's fine. I don't want people thinking there's some kind of like drama or anything. There's literally nothing like that. So no worries. When is the next Morning with the Misses in the Members Lounge. We will be doing members content, but it's going to be a little bit more spread out. So just be on the lookout. I decided to spread out the members content a little bit further apart. So no worries there. You're welcome, Benino. He had to get a second job for the Switch too. Damn you, Nintendo. Fred was ready with that one. Who's getting a Nintendo Switch 2 day one? I mean, I've seen quite a few people saying they plan to. I'm not one of these people that thinks Nintendo's in trouble. At all. But I'm also not convinced that, Sony's in some kind of awkward spot either. I think, am I going to do a room tour? No, this is the room, dude. It literally ends right here. The door is right here. It's right over here. There's a closet, in case you didn't know. Yaren with another super chat. Thank you, buddy. You're saying for anyone who wants to play The Legend of Dragoon, it's on PC. It's called Severed Chains, and we'll get voice acting and other features. Severed Chains. Let's see. Severed Chains project summary. Severed Chains is an unofficial port of Legend of Dragoon for PC and Steam Deck. Unlike emulation, a native port removes the boundaries typically present. The game runs faster, leaner, and has breakout modding capabilities. Experience the game in 4K 60 FPS and true widescreen for the first time. Try out a party that doesn't include Dart. Get a feel for the many quality of life improvements as well as accessibility options. Oh, okay. Highlights: 4K 60 FPS, true widescreen, restored asset quality, fast loading and transitions, save anywhere, unlimited slots, accessibility options, gamepad remapping, lots of modding features, more accessibility options. Current issues, only minor graphical bugs. Well, there you go. Well, damn, do we even need it? Well, I guess a remake would be completely different. But guys, hold on one sec. All right, sorry about that, guys. You think a remake, if done right, would be way better than a fan project? Yeah. A new Predator movie trailer? You came back to no MBG? Just an empty chair once again. Wes, the Doug Bowser interview was disgusting. Straight up calling it disgusting, bro. It's called Predator Killer of Killers. Jeez. It's an intense title. This just in. White House says additional 104% tariffs on China went into effect today at noon. Well then. Alrighty. Yeah, I just read that on Twitter. Yeah. So I don't know. We're really trying to break them, I guess. Yaron with another super chat says, just to be fair, I also don't like Xbox's games either, LOL, but I had a feeling since the Bethesda purchase that the remake would happen, so got Xbox. That's interesting. I mean, I do wonder. I wonder, Yaron, if Sony is... So there have been like some rumors, because I'm assuming like Legend of Dragoon isn't the only Sony game that you care about. But if the rumors turn out to be true that the Penguins aren't responding as well, or are responding as well, the Penguins are willing to negotiate. Sorry, Aaron. What I was trying to say is the rumors have been claiming that Sony is going to be maybe delving into some of their deeper cuts, and bringing back some of the more classic PlayStation IP going forward. Now, we don't know how many games they're going to be doing this with, or what form that's going to take. If we're talking about full-blown revivals, if we're talking about remakes, if we're talking about remasters, but this is what the rumors have indicated. And we did see recently that, and I know they're obviously not an RPG studio, but we see a studio like People Can Fly being given some kind of Sony IP to work on. I wonder how far this is going to extend, and again, how deep these deep cuts really are going to be. And I wonder, like, if this is in an effort to maybe try to win back some PlayStation players like yourself, because you're not the only one, Yaron. Like, there are definitely some people that Sony has lost in the direction that they went in. They're still doing very well, but trying to put some effort into winning back some of the fans that maybe have moved on, I think could be a good idea. I wonder. I just wonder how far it's going to be taken. Helldivers 2 just won Best Multiplayer at BAFTA. Oh, wow. Good for them. That's a big one. The developers really care about the BAFTAs. So their Arrowhead's probably feeling pretty good right now. Good for them. I mean, I know that we usually focus on the end of the year game awards, Jeff Keighley's awards, but the awards show that, but the awards that really matter are the BAFTAs. Those are the ones that are considered, like, within the industry, like, that's when you earn the respect, like the real respect, Beast Mode, you're saying it's the tariffs. Pay more, MBG. He's hitting you with tariffs. Reciprocal tariffs. These damn penguins. I mean, it does seem like more countries are becoming willing to negotiate. So hopefully that's a good sign. And Yaron with another super chat says, didn't see Xbox lose Halo, Gears, or Forza yet. Maybe next year, but Sony did lose an exclusive, the Patapon rhythm game. Yeah, I mean, that's another interesting thing that Sony's been doing, where they have been, I've been talking about that a little bit, where specifically with Bandai Namco, they're like, yeah, do you guys want to publish these games? It's weird because it's like Sony's just like handing this IP to Bandai, and Sony's just like, we kind of want nothing to do with it. We'll just take a check, right? Like whatever money you make, we'll just take a cut, but we don't really care to do anything beyond that. I'm also curious to see how far that extends. Is that when we heard the rumors of Sony bringing back some deep cut IP, is like that what they were talking about? And that's true. Yeah, Yaron, Forza is coming out on PS5 in just a couple of weeks, but the two big ones that people are still waiting for are Gears and Halo. And apparently both of those things are happening this year. That's what the rumors claim. I wonder if Microsoft's waiting for this, waiting for their showcase to announce this. I'm not betting on that, but the rumors have heavily indicated that both a Gears of War collection and a Halo Master Chief collection are going to be announced for both PlayStation and Switch this year. We know that Xbox is probably going to have a big showcase in June. Phil Spencer did say that they're going to start putting PS5 logos in their shows. So, and yeah, we heard about Starfield. We keep hearing pretty much about everything, but it seems like something that has been made clear. Microsoft is willing to delay some of these announcements for whatever reason. For example, apparently Forza was supposed to be announced last year, and it was already supposed to be out, but it got slightly delayed for some reason. That's going to be a hell of a day, though, man. That's going to be a crazy day if I don't think it's a matter of if, but when either Gears or Halo is announced for PlayStation and Switch. That's going to be, like I said, there's two really big moments when it comes to Xbox being third party. Um, Forza was a big moment. It is a big moment, but the two big moments are either the Master Chief Collection or the Gears of War Collection being announced for PS5, and then the second big moment is a big day one release for PS5, like Fable or Gears of War E-Day announced that they're both coming day one, right? And Yaron comes in with another super chat. Yaron, thank you so much for the super chats, buddy. It's very kind of you. You're saying, didn't know about Forza. Thanks for the info. I keep thinking if the next Xbox is pretty much a PC, what will Sony do as their trump card? I see what you did there, trump card. Sony's gonna be like, more tariffs. No, well, see, it's really interesting you bring this up, Yaron, because I've been thinking about this extensively myself. Not just think about it. The past like 3 weeks, we've been having deep conversations about the rumored next generation Xbox and how it's going to be PC oriented. And now we had the Switch 2 reveal, and we know everything about the Switch 2. And now people are talking about the idea of the Switch 2 possibly being more of a threat potentially to PlayStation now that it's able to run, most games, seemingly most games. And Nintendo has true exclusives. You do have to wonder if maybe Sony is, and this isn't like hopium on my end because it doesn't matter to me either way, at least not as much as people want to think it does. But I know it's something that matters to certain PlayStation fans very much. So you do have to wonder if Nintendo does become more of a threat. Because I'll be honest, I don't think Xbox is going to be more of a threat. I think Xbox is going to be just doing their own thing with minimal support in the console space. I think that they're going to treat the console space like PC. And I think some people will be on board with that. But I think generally speaking, most people are just going to be like, okay, well, I'm either going to go to PC or just switch to a different console where I know I'll get I'll get PlayStation games and Xbox games or Nintendo games and Xbox games. I'm more interested in knowing what Nintendo's stance on true exclusivity may or may not do to PlayStation, because people have been saying to me, they're like, well, man, you know, the Switch 2 is going to be getting all the sports games. They're getting Elden Ring. They're getting Cyberpunk. They're getting Final Fantasy VII Remake. They're going to be getting Call of Duty. And they have all of Nintendo's games as true exclusives. Could that push Sony back into being like, well, Sony, you got to go back to doing that too, because, Nintendo is now more of a threat to you. And so you have to basically double down on that notion of, if you want our games, you got to buy the PlayStation. Do you think it's growing the pressure on Sony? Well, that's what I mean. I'm kind of torn on it. I don't know what direction Sony is going to go in. I want to say they're more likely to not go in that direction, but I love how Titus is just finding out that, wait a second, we just brought back the direwolf from extinction. Yes, apparently we did. I do wonder what Sony's going to do in this regard, because I think Sony's going to need something. I do feel that way. I feel like Sony can't just approach the PS6 as casually. Well, I don't know if casually is the right word, but I guess what I mean to say is, if Sony approaches the PS6 the exact same way they approached the PS5 from the transition from PS4, I don't know that it's going to be as smooth this time. I think they're going to need to, like you're saying, kind of have some kind of trump card, some kind of ace up their sleeve. Next up are clones, right? Oh, I don't. That's weird. I don't even know what to think of that, man. Like, whoa, okay. Boss, why did you put your every time he walks by the camera, boss's asshole just straight up flashes the camera. Get down. Get down. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you guys had to see that. Boss is back. Dude, the idea of cloning freaks me out because imagine like cloning a human and it's like, what does this mean? What does this say about spirituality and, you know, beliefs in the afterlife and beliefs in like a soul and a spirit? Like it really messes everything up quite a bit. No, I didn't see that, Terrence. I'm sorry, Laz. I'm sorry. Twins are clones? Are they? I guess they kind of are. I don't know, man. I don't know what to make of life. Don't do it, boss. I'll be honest, I've been trying not to think too deeply these days. I've been trying to avoid the existentialism of it, you know? I'm trying to do that thing where I just live in the moment and keep myself busy because when I think too much, man, anybody anybody who's been around here for a while, you know, MEG clone with a do-rag plays Xbox Game Pass. He sure does. No, because twins have their own individual fingerprints and even start to look different as they age. Okay. Yeah, I think it's like the idea of like a pure clone. There's something really cursed about that. Something really messed up about it. Reminds me of that Arnold movie, The Sixth Day. Clone. I was seeing that. I saw that trending yesterday about the direwolf. Are you talking about how they brought back the direwolf they brought out of extinction from 13,000 years ago? Yeah. It's pretty crazy when you think about it. Like, I mean, how far can we take this? What else can we bring back from extinction? I saw somebody saying bring back the dinosaurs. I mean, do we really want to do that? I mean, I guess I could see the appeal, you know, like it would be kind of sick. Like we brought back a friggin' dinosaur. It was basically Jurassic Park at this point, you know? Jurassic Park worked out well. I feel like I mean, yeah, I could see that becoming a reality, but do you really think we'd mess that up? Because I feel like we would, if something went wrong, we would just easily be able to take down these dinosaurs. Like, what the hell is a dinosaur going to do to us? You know? I'm not saying people couldn't die. I'm just saying, I don't think it's going to get totally out of control. We got the guns. We got them 50 cows. The Megalodon is next. Oh, Jesus, dude. See, why? We don't need that. Why would we need that? We're going to put tariffs on them. Bro, who would say, let's bring back the Megalodon? Okay, says this is the existential dilemma PlayStation faces. Do they clone Mark Cerny? Being at the top of the market, but having the murkiest and most uncertain path forward. Exactly. You got to clone Mark Cerny, bro. It's the only way. We need 3 Mark Cernys working on the PlayStation 6 in order to forge a new path. Clone Jim Ryan to see if live service is a natural thought in his mind. What does that even mean? Jim Ryan could have been the greatest PlayStation CEO of all time until the unnatural, demonic thoughts of live service took over. They warped his brain. They changed him. We need a pure Jim Ryan. An untainted Jim Ryan, if you will. Bro, you're saying we need Mark Cerny's head on Jim Ryan's body? How much more cursed could it get? Oh my god. What has Sony become? Jim Ryan is one of those people I could totally buy as an android trying to assimilate. That's funny, dude. Mark Cerny's head on Arnold's body. Prime Arnold. Somebody please use your AI to make that. I need to see Prime. Like, I need to see Mark Cerny's face on, like, the Terminator's body, dude. Oh my god. Cerny Hydra. You know what's crazy? I've seen people frequently talk about how Mark Cerny looks just like Dana Carvey. Is that his name? And I saw like multiple videos pop up with Dana Carvey, and like legitimately thought, oh, what's this video of Mark Cerny? I'm not even kidding. And I clicked. I was like, oh wait, that's not Mark Cerny. It's crazy. Like you want to talk about clones, bro? They look like clones. They look like twins. I always thought people were like exaggerating a little bit until I recently came across those videos. It just popped up in my recommended feed for whatever reason. You could probably do a killer Cerny impression. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe they are brothers secretly. Swing. Mark is taller than Dana. We need Jim Ryan, Don Matrick, and Doug Bowser, the three horsemen. All Mark Cerny has to do to sell something is some ASMR talking about the tech, and I'll buy it. I need your clothes, your boots, and your teraflops. I need your clothes, your boots, and your teraflops. Dude, even just imagining Mark Cerny's head and voice on Arnold's Terminator body is amazing. This is amazing. These are truly some cursed words. Oh, hold on. Okay, hold on. Hold on, guys. All right, let's see if I can make this happen.
I need your clothes, your boots, and your teraflops.
Oh my god, why does he say it so slow like that? Why does he say it so slow like that? It sounds so it's like so much more disturbing. Like, I need your clothes, your boots, and your teraflops. Did that come through? Please tell me that came through. You could see Mark Cerny asking for a plasma rifle in a 40-watt range. man.
Hi, I'm Arnold Siani. Allow me to introduce the PS6.
Why did he, bro? This AI is kind of broken. I'm Arnold the Cerny. All right, I'm just gonna try one more thing, just because I'm really curious how it reacts to it. I have no idea how this is gonna sound, but I'm just totally messing around now.
I'll be back left with threes and AHH double C.
Why did, bro? I am freaked out. Why did he say I'll be back? I just typed in ah. I typed in AHHHHH, and he just, dude, Arnold's AI naturally said I'll be back. What?
I'll be back left with threes and AHH double C.
Yo, that is creepy. That's so creepy. I did not type that in. He's sentient. Arnold's become Skynet. Holy shit, that's so weird. It knows. Make him say MAGA. Maybe they could transplant Mark's head onto Schwarzenegger's body, like in Mars Attacks. Cyberdyne is strong with this one. You know what? I just want to say this real quick. I've really been watching just a ton of videos on the Terminator franchise, and it's truly depressing. It really, really is. Like, the Terminator franchise really had the potential to be one of the greatest of all time. Terminator 1 and 2, I think, are truly the only, like, amazing, like, really good, really solid, really amazing Terminator movies. But everything that came after, the only other Terminator movie that really had potential, and they just totally dropped the ball, was Terminator Salvation. It tried to do something different. You had Christian Bale as John Connor. Arnold made a cameo. But the last one, I didn't watch it, but I watched a video about the last Terminator movie, Dark Fate. I think it came out in 2019. What a dumpster fire, dude. Holy shit. I'm glad I never watched it. They straight up killed John Connor in the beginning of the movie. And they did that thing. They did that thing where, like, we got to replace John Connor with some strong female lead or whatever. And it's like, are you guys, like, fucking brain dead? It's crazy. Genesis, I didn't see. I've seen parts of Genesis. But, yeah, I don't know, man. I think Arnold's too old to come back as the Terminator. I mean, in the last movie, they had him playing. It was kind of funny in a way where, like, in the last movie, in Dark Fate, they made it so that the original Terminator that came back in 1984, I think, basically didn't have a mission anymore. So he just became, like, normal. He just, like, integrated into human society and became like he like created a family and shit. And it was like, okay, that's kind of funny. And I love the idea of, like, Arnold's Terminator just integrating with society because he doesn't have a mission anymore. He's just left back in time. That's pretty funny. But outside of that, man, like, I don't know, they just really ruined it. Yeah, and you're saying they woke too close to the sun. Oh, man. I mean, yeah, they really fucked up with Dark Fate. Get him to say triple anus. I actually have a, hold on. I don't know if I can find it.
Triple A-ness. That is some triple A-ness greatness.
I know I had a few more. I can't find it though.
Hello, it is me, the new CEO of PlayStation. My first major announcement is I will personally terminate the Pro console and its leader Phil Spencer.
God, you gotta love it. What software am I using? Actually, those were like random. Those were ones that I saved. I don't even remember how I got them. 11 Labs. I don't even know what that is. 11 Labs. I'm on this one called like Try Parade. Let's see if this works. I don't know if it'll let me generate another. This is a separate one.
AA and NAS.
I just totally broke it. I tried to type in AAA Ness Greatness, and that's what we got out of it. AA and and it just stops. Leading voice software. Okay, let me look this up. Create the most realistic speech with our AI audio platform. I never tried this. Do they have it so you can use other voices, or is that not a thing? Because it seems like pretty legitimate. You have to like pay for it, I think. Pricing. What is the pricing? So it's like a subscription. Huh. Is it true you have not seen RoboCop? No, I've seen RoboCop. It's been just many, many years. Like I was really young when I saw RoboCop. So I only remember like parts of it, but I have yet to go back and like properly rewatch it, which I should do. Is it true that the RoboCop sequels are garbage? I've heard people say that. I don't think I've seen RoboCop 2 or 3. Or maybe my grandmother was watching those sequels and I like watched bits and pieces. Don't watch 3. It's that bad. You're straight up saying don't watch it. Yikes. RoboCop 2 is good, 3 is questionable. It seems like the general consensus is 3 is garbage. That actually piques my interest. You're saying it's hilariously bad? I mean, are you saying to the point where it's actually kind of good because it's that bad? Yeah, the RoboCop remake seemingly didn't go anywhere. I think that came out like 2013 or 14 or something. Didn't really go anywhere. Well, guys, I just realized we went over the 3-hour mark, so I think this is where I'm going to wrap today's stream up. Just having a little bit of fun at the end here. But, guys, that's going to do it. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thank you for sticking around this long to hear Arnold talk about AAA Ness Greatness. But I do hope you guys enjoyed the rest of your Tuesday. Fred, you're saying, MBG, let me put it like this. It is better than most modern movies. Okay. All right. That puts it in perspective. But just want to extend a big thank you and shout out to anybody who dropped any support today on the stream. If you dropped any membership gifts, I mean, Corey, the legend, dropping some bombs today. Really appreciate that, man. And anybody who dropped any super chats, thank you so much for the support. I can only do what I do here because you guys make it possible. So please enjoy the rest of your day. We will be back here tomorrow with more content and another stream. As long as everything goes, according to plan. I did put out a news video earlier. You can go check that out. And yeah, so guys, I will catch you later. Until then, take care.